Hey everyone, I'm Travis Wright, and you're listening to I'm a Fan of, your show for music, comedy, and more. As always, if you are a musician, a comedian, or just someone that does something interesting, please reach out to me on Instagram. I've changed it. It is now at I'm a Fan of Pod. It used to be at Travis Can Listen, but now it's I'm a Fan of Pod on Instagram. You can find me at I'm a Fan of on Facebook, or reach out to me through the website at imafanofpod.com. Of course, if you just enjoy the show, please follow me at those places as well, and like and subscribe to the podcast. Before we get into this episode, quick reminder, I'm a Fan of, and myself filmed a comedy special for Lawrence Rosales. We are in the process of editing everything right now, but the release party for that is going to be Saturday, January 27th at TK's Bar and Comedy Club in Addison, Texas. Anyone that listens to this show is invited. Please come out, have a couple drinks. We're going to play a trailer. We're going to celebrate the night with a bunch of comics and other fun people. If you at all enjoy comedy, if you enjoy this podcast, please come out, say hello, have a drink, and have a good time. Moving on, our guest for today's episode, absolutely phenomenal musician out of Fort Worth, Texas, Hayden Miller. And he has created a really, really cool album called BARTALK. He's played in bands before. He's not new to the scene, but this album deviates just quite a bit from what his previous project was doing. It's phenomenal. We get into it. He's got a blend of kind of, in my view, kind of Elton John and Queen and some other elements. And it's just a phenomenal album. Another good front to back listen as usual. So I had to get him into the studio, talk about the new album, talk about all the inspiration behind it and what he's going to do with it in the future. And he just seemed like a really, really fun, nice guy to chat with. And I hope I get to help him on some future projects because I think he's going to be one of our rising talents here in the scene. Anyway, let's stop talking about it. Let's get into it. This is Hayden Miller. Enjoy. The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more. Hayden Miller. Yeah. What is up, dude?
What's up, man?
Very excited to talk to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
Been rocking this album, man. But before that, you were just talking to me about your passion for gardening.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I've done some gardening in my life, and we were just talking about how there's a few little weeks in there in Texas where you can actually garden, and then it's hot weather or cold weather. So.
I have dreams of I'm going to start with like a little greenhouse in my backyard.
Right.
And then I have this big dream of wanting to do like a massive urban farm project. You know what I mean? I think our food is all tainted and horrible for us.
Overly processed.
Yeah, and it's
absolutely.
I have this vision of like taking over multi-story skyscrapers, and it's like one floor's tomatoes, one floor's whatever. Just boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And then in my dream world, that would all coincide with like when weed becomes legal in Texas. And so use the weed to make all the money, and then have all the fresh fruit, vegetables, whatever, grown for super cheap, so people around here can just have like really healthy, cheap food.
Right, like organically grown food. I think that's one of the weirdest things about gardening is you have these tomatoes or this. We did watermelons a couple years and pumpkins and things like that, and it does taste different from the stuff you buy at the store.
Totally.
And it's like, wow, this is what a real tomato tastes like.
Well, it's like it can't be a coincidence that all of our issues with like obesity, diabetes, all these things coincide with mass-produced farming.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you get why that happened. It's like our population boomed. People wanted to grow more. And then other people were like, hey, we can do this. We can put these chemicals in. We can do these things. And it'll grow way faster. The bugs won't eat it. It won't die. And now our bodies are like, yeah, we also can't process that.
Yeah, our human organs haven't quite figured out how to process that stuff.
But yeah, I could, I don't know. That's like a little fantasy of mine. Like
I think that's a cool fantasy.
I don't have any time for it, but I really want to do it.
You've seen the photos of those buildings in like, God, I don't know, probably Japan or something like that. But they've got those like kind of like these hanging outside gardens outside.
Yes,
skyscrapers and things like that are just covered in vegetation, and it's really cool looking.
Yeah.
And it's like, gosh, you'd never see something like that here because
there'd
be a zoning permit or
it always seems like there's a little red tape, right?
Yeah.
And I was just listening to somebody else's podcast. It was Joe Rogan's podcast, and they had some people on there from Hawaii because they just had all those wildfires, right?
Right. Yeah.
And one of the guys who was like a native Hawaiian, he was talking about how they don't let them grow fruit trees where they want to. And he was like, he made a statement about like drive down wherever you live. He's like, drive down the road and count how many trees you see until you find one that bears something edible for humans.
Right.
And that really kind of blew my mind. I was thinking, God, I mean, all trees are great, but how great would it be if in downtown Dallas or Fort Worth even, right? Where when you're going through like the downtown areas or the stockyards, it's like that tree that they planted just happened to be like a fruit tree.
Yeah, it's an apple tree.
And you could literally just
apple
grab an apple.
and just
And it's like, why does that seem like it's illegal? You know what I mean?
Man.
Like, it feels like you would get in trouble for taking free fruit off of a tree.
You would. You get in trouble for stealing because that's the government's tree and that's their apple or whatever. Yeah.
But wouldn't it be great to just be walking down the street and see just like a delicious orange, and you're just like, I'm going to go ahead and eat that real quick.
There's a problem here that I think that you need to think about too, which is people that have fruit trees in their yard. I've known some that not all the fruit gets eaten, especially the ones at the very, very top don't get eaten, and then they fall, and then they don't get eaten, and they get rotten, or it attracts rats and things like that. There's a lot of that sanitation thing that goes into it.
Now we're just creating jobs. Now we have people to just clean that, and somebody just comes around and just shakes the tree, gets all the loose fruit out.
Like a fruit tree cop who's there. That's like his own little division. Yeah, and he's like a fruit tree cop, and he's just trying to make sure you don't fuck with this tree, okay? This is our thing.
Dude, this is my platform for presidency.
I don't know why he has two guns, but he's got two guns.
No, but I just thought, I mean, maybe that's like more the hippie side where you're just like, why isn't there food everywhere, man? Like,
right, yeah.
But really, it's like, why isn't there food everywhere?
Oh, because they own it all now.
I know.
Just like all the property and all the time and all of everything. They own it all now.
I do think that if I started making my skyscraper farm and all that started working out the way I want to, I do think I would end up getting like poisoned or something. Like somebody would be like, "You're cutting into our profits. We've got to deal with you."
Yeah, we poisoned the whole crop.
Yeah,
that's what we did. Yeah. Oh.
Have you always had a passion for that? Is that just like a little hobby?
That's something I started doing once I started living with the old lady at the house, you know, and just kind of like having a home of your own versus living with. I lived with bandmates for years and years.
Oh yeah,
and that's a little bit of a different vibe, you know. It's more of a party, stay up late vibe, and now it's like I'm gonna go to bed and maybe wake up early and do a little gardening.
Is this the only woman you've lived with?
It's the only woman I've lived with.
I've only lived with my wife. Before we got married, we moved in, and it's a bit of a culture shock.
Well, it just gets you used to different stuff.
It's good, but you just remembered you were like, I lived like a wild animal.
Like a feral beast, I did. Yes, absolutely, I did.
And, man, you know what I hated about all that is all of the, like, sitcom cliches. They're so dead on. And it's so true.
You don't want them to be true, but they are.
And you're like, I just thought these were cheesy, hammy TV show writers.
Right.
And it's all dead on.
Oh, yeah, because you want to be the cool guy that's like, that'll never be me, ever. And then you get to this age and you're just like, fuck, that's so me. That is so me. Spot on.
Yeah. But, dude, this album.
This album, man, yeah.
I started commuting to work on my bicycle. I've got a nice route that I can get on. And I was jamming your album on my ride, and it's just
cool.
The highs and lows of that album, and there aren't like deep lows, but I don't know, man. It just jams.
That's awesome. That's good to hear, man.
Front to back, it's really great.
Thank you, man. I've got a lot of good feedback on it. I'm glad people are liking it as a big kind of a jamming record that isn't, bringing them down too much. Because I was afraid of that.
I don't think it comes down at all. I think it goes through movements, but I don't think you're ever like sad and depressed about it.
That's good.
Which is odd because from what I was reading through, I think it was like the Fort Worth Weekly article they wrote about it, that it's very much related to a friend of yours that passed, right?
Yes. Yeah. In 2018, I lost a dear friend of mine that I'd known since like junior high. And he had lost his battle with drug addiction and mental health and stuff like that. Just something that I guess men of a certain generation didn't take care of their mental health quite as well, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he unfortunately committed suicide in 2018, and that was a real bummer. Took us a long time to get over that, and just kind of work through something like that. Because deaths had happened to me before, but they were grandparents or the really old uncle or something like that. But
this was like dear close friend
that I lived with for many years and that hung out with me all the time, and and then all of a sudden one day they're just not there, and it's super weird and uncomfortable, and still getting used to it. This album was like therapy for that, because I don't have money to pay for any kind of actual therapy with someone with a degree or anything like that.
Yeah.
But luckily I do know how to play music and I know how to write songs, and so I use that to my advantage. And this is one of the first times I wrote a record that I wasn't writing it for an audience. I wasn't writing it for a band. I wasn't writing this record for a particular group of any people. I was just writing it for myself, just to kind of see if I could work through those feelings, just through songwriting and through trying to let that majesty flow through me. And that's kind of one of the reasons I was hoping I wouldn't bring everybody down too much with the record.
No, not at all. I mean, I try not to dissect albums too deeply. Yeah. Because you know how it is with records you love. You really never know exactly what the person wrote it about. It's like you get an idea. It's a little, unless it's just so on the nose, but it always means a little bit different, something a little bit different to the listener than it does the writer.
Right.
Even though it's in the same realm. And then I read those articles, and I was listening to it in a different way, not a negative way, but I was just really thinking about it more. And it is interesting how so much of it is very upbeat and feel good.
That's good. That's good. That's a good thing, yeah.
And it just made me think of a lot of that really great classic rock music that could say something a little deeper without having to make a big, like, look at me, I need you to understand I'm sad moment.
Right.
You know what I mean?
An overly poetic kind of thing. Yeah. No, that's good. I want it to feel happy and fun. Rock and roll.
How long after 2018, when that happened, did you decide to start writing songs?
2020.
These songs?
2020. Yeah, 2020. My band that I'm with, I play with a group of guys in Fort Worth called Dead Vinyl.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you guys are very well known, and y'all are like the band's band of rockers.
We are the band's band. I've heard that before.
I say it as a compliment.
I love that compliment. It's I don't know. I always try. It's like when people say a comic's comic. You know.
Well, does that strike you as like? How does that sit with you when you hear that though?
Well, when I hear a comic's comic, and I'm like, oh, okay, this guy is really funny, but in a really niche way that's kind of really only for comics.
Okay.
And so when someone says you're in that band that's like a band's band, it's like, okay, I guess only musicians dig it. I would like them.
Okay, I'm a musician. I view it as, I could see how you view it that way. I view it more as like, you know how when you play a show and let's say you're the opener and the feature act, the headliner, all the other bands, they're getting drinks on the patio. They're not watching your set, right? But when you start playing, they're like, what is that? And they start making their way in.
On in.
So you've got the fans, but now you're also getting the bands who watch this stuff all the time and aren't impressed by anybody.
Right.
Now they're becoming impressed. That's how I say it.
And they'll stand in the back with their arms crossed and just shake.
Yeah, you never get any joy. You just get the subtle nod.
You get the subtle nod with the arms crossed, and they're in the back of the show.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the highest compliment for musicians is if the guitar player is playing a lick, and then somebody goes, I know the listener can't hear that, but it's
stank face.
A disgusted face.
Yeah.
It looks like, you've insulted their mother.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
how dare you play something so good?
That's good.
I saw, I know you're from Fort Worth, but are you familiar with Revelers Hall here in Dallas?
I've heard of that.
It's over in the Oak Cliff area.
Yeah.
And they do like lots of kind of like a little bit of jam band stuff, but then they'll do actual shows. But it's a real small, like a shotgun style bar.
Perfect.
Where when you walk in the front door, the band's on the left and everybody else is right there already.
I love those kind of bars.
And it's got a whole feeling to it. And I was watching this guy, Jake Quillen, play there. And he's a big Hendrix fan, so he's known to like play some solos here and there.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
And some other local guitarist, I can't remember his name, but somebody told me who he was later, literally standing like 4 feet next to him on the side because it's all flat floor. There's no stage.
Right.
And they're just standing there with like hands in their pocket, just watching. And it's like,
I have to figure out how you do this.
And it was like, it looked to somebody who doesn't play, I can't imagine how weird that looked, right? Because it looked like they had no joy. But if you play an instrument, you're going like, oh, they are really into this right now.
I'm just absorbing knowledge. I'm trying not to enjoy it, you know? I'm just absorbing.
It's like the highest compliment when it's like weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You guys are known for, already being this rock and roll band.
Yeah, doing the rock and roll thing.
And I will say, straight rock and roll. No subgenres. Like, it is rock
We do
music.
rock and roll. We do it like our daddies taught us.
Dude.
You know?
And then what you've released now, it's totally different in a great way, but it's just different. Totally different. Did you have that difference in style in there already, or was it something you sought out, or were you already playing things similar to that and it just kind of meshed?
I tend to write songs that when I bring them to Dead Vinyl, they tend to morph and turn into different things as other people get their hands on that clay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this record, BARTALK, is a much more clear representation of how the music starts in my head when I come up with the songs, you know.
So even in Dead Vinyl, they kind of start in a similar way?
They start in a similar way. I'll have some lines or some lyrics and stuff like that. Tyler does a lot of the music writing and stuff like that that makes it that makes us a band's band, I suppose. But,
yeah.
But yeah, that's how that goes with them. This BARTALK record is a little more, you know, it's a lot of yeah, I don't know how to describe it. The songwriting was, like I said, it's kind of like therapy, and it was just kind of flowing out of me at a very short period of time during the summer of 2020. Mm-hmm. We had gone on a tour. Dead Vinyl was on a tour in Los Angeles. We were doing a West Coast tour thing. And we left on March 16th, 2020. And March 17th, the hammer comes down with the COVID thing. Mm-hmm. And it feels like the whole world is shutting down. And we are out here on the West Coast on a tour trying to make a little bit of money.
And on the West Coast, too, like they shut down the earliest and they shut down the hardest.
The hardest.
Yeah.
The highway, we were on the one going up, and it was just empty. We were like, this is weird. This is like 28 Days Later shit. Mm-hmm. This is like super weird stuff. And so I just start getting calls from the bookers and the promoters and stuff saying, you know, like, we're canceling this gig, we're canceling this gig, we're canceling this gig. And we were just like, well, fuck, dude. And so we're just out on the road, totally, the world is basically ending. We're just like, I don't know what the hell's happening, but I guess the whole world is over. And so we just kind of tuck our tails and head home. And then after that, it was like months and months of no bars were open, no restaurants were doing people like sitting down dinners and stuff. They were doing to-go shit. I just had a lot of time on my hands. I had been learning. I had played piano my whole life, but never like explored it.
Yeah,
really. You know, I used it as a tool for songwriting. It was. I know how the notes look on the guitar here. I know how the notes look here on the piano, and I can use that to create melodies here and then put them here and do a little more with them on guitar. But once I really realized, I was like, oh, I'm writing the majority of these songs on piano, you know, putting them together, writing the lyrics with it. And I was like, I should just make this like a kind of a Elton John kind of rock and roll piano kind of record, like a piano pop rock record, you know? And so that's kind of how that came to be. It was just like, I should just play piano.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said Elton John.
Yeah. Elton's a huge influence for me.
And just, you know, I heard it in the record.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just put that on it. You know, I didn't want to just be like, oh, Elton. But yeah, man, it's like he was, I think there's a whole generation of like rock people that really don't get how much he did because it's a piano. It's not a guitar. But
it's
it
a piano.
so good.
And he got labeled. He got labeled as like a girly, kind of a girly guy because there was homophobes out there that were upset that he was gay. And but I mean, the truth of the matter is that he's one of the greatest contributors to the American songbook, or the songbook of the world.
Yeah.
That there's ever been.
Yeah.
He writes some of the greatest. He's written some of the greatest, most iconic songs in the world. That's the bottom line.
And let's be real. He also paired it with a performance level that 99% of performers will never match.
Ever. I mean, he's just such a high energy entertainer. I mean,
and even if you want to be that high energy, you know, it's like, okay, for example, like let's just talk pop stars. Like there was like a viral TikTok going around of Pink where she was showing how she does all these acrobatics, and she's still actually singing. She's not lip syncing or while she's doing it. And so she was showing like one of her workouts was her on her back, like flexing her abs with someone standing on her stomach and singing her notes. Oh, proving that like that's how she prepares. And it's like those real performers. Elton's one of those guys where it's like, it's not going to be good enough to be close to amazing. It's got to be incredible.
It's got to be incredible. And the energy is through the roof.
Yeah.
If I'm not dancing, how do I expect them to dance?
Right, you know, right. And there's like, you know, I thought the biopic on him was okay. I just wish it would have went a little deeper. Like it was just a little. It felt like it moved really fast.
It moved fast. I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked
it was good.
A lot. I thought it showed warts and all, which is what you want in a biopic.
Yeah,
you don't want these ones like the Elvis one where it's like super glamorizing and nothing was ever his fault. He was the king. You know, I mean, it shows everything with that homie. He's like, he was not great at sometimes.
No.
But I mean, he was human. He was a human being.
Yeah. Do you remember when you started listening to him?
Very young age. Yeah. One of my first records I got on vinyl was Honky Chateau.
Yeah.
And that is one of my favorite records still to this day.
It's incredible.
It's so good. Front to back, no skips. So good.
Yeah.
The piano work is amazing. Bernie Taupin's writing is incredible in that one. I mean, it's just, so good.
When you went to the studio, did you talk about it like this? Did you say, I'm kind of making
I did.
an Elton thing, here's what I'm kind of going for?
During that summer of 2020 when I was writing the songs, I was kind of also pseudo-demoing them as well, because I had all the Dead Vinyl stuff. I was in the Dead Vinyl practice room that we all lived in or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had access to a drum kit and a piano and a bass and a guitar, and I would just kind of lay stuff down on a demo track, and had this whole album demoed and then sent it to my buddy Nolan. And Nolan Ryan Robertson, who plays with the Hendersons.
Okay.
Really, really wonderful band in Fort Worth. Does some of probably the best pop music in Fort Worth right now. But I sent it to him, and he's a good buddy of mine. And he was like, "We should just record this." He was like, "You and I should just do me and you and go up there and just record it." I was like, "That's exactly what we'll do." So I took all of my, what do they call it, stimulus checks or whatever, and I was like, rack these up, just gave them to my buddy Taylor Tatch, and I was like, let's do it, man.
Dude, before this interview, I just sent Taylor Tatch a message, and I was like, I think I really need you to come on my podcast, because I keep I keep interviewing musicians, and then like the day of the interview, I'm just doing a little research or something, and I find out, produced by Taylor, or played an instrument from Taylor on this, and it's like, oh my God, this guy is a part of all this incredible music around here. And it's so subtle. Like he's not throwing his own name around of like, look at this amazing thing I created. Very, very subtle.
He's subtle, but he does both of those things on the BARTALK record. He produced it, and he laid a lot of music down for it.
I think I'm starting to recognize some of his guitar parts.
He's got guitar parts, but he's also, to me, it's the singing. He has a very distinct backup vocal that he will do that is always on point, by the way.
I'll have to listen to that. I didn't know he was contributing that way.
Yeah, well, I do a lot on the record too, but I think you can hear it a lot in other people's records that don't have backup singers or something like that. He's like, I'll lay some stuff down,
Who's playing the guitar parts that start to sound a little Queen-esque?
That's Nolan.
Okay.
That's Nolan Robertson from the Hendersons, and he kind of co-produced, and it was such a weird recording experience. It was nothing like I've ever done. With Dead Vinyl, it was always, I'm going to go in, I'm going to sing, because that's what I do. And then Parker's going to go in, he's going to play drums. Jordan's going to go in, Jordan's going to play bass, and everyone's got their lane. In this one, it was like I would lay down the guide track on piano, and we'd all sit in a room and be like, okay, I think the drums need to go like this, and one of us would get up and play the drums, or someone would get up and play a bass part. It was like kind of like this weird musical chairs sort of thing where if you asked me to, I might not get it exactly right who played who on what track. I know that I sang most of them. I know that I played drums on most of them. I played piano on maybe 60% of it, 70% of it. Nolan did a ton of the guitar. I did a little guitar. I did mostly like acoustic and stuff like that. But it was such a grab bag. It was so cool. My buddy Tyler Vella from Dead Vinyl came in, did some guitar solos. They sound great. But it was just so cool to have this environment where you're with multi-instrumentalists.
Yeah.
So anybody may have the part at any time. So you want to like sit back and just really listen to it and absorb the track and be like, you know what? I think I might hear a guitar part here. Let me lay something down. Let me see what it sounds like. And sometimes it's a miss. Sometimes you scrap it.
So with you guys kind of dipping in and out of instruments, how long was the recording process?
Oh, well, in actual time, it took about 2 years. But in real studio time, it was about a week. It was about 5 to 6 days.
So like, were you all there listening and someone's like, let me take a run at this part on this instrument? Or was someone just kind of like, hey, I found inspiration tonight, I'm going to run up there and record something even though you guys aren't there?
No. It was like we'd sit together. And I mean, I still kind of ran the show. It was my record. It was my songs. They were all super cool. And they were just like, if you don't have a guitar part here, because I would write the song and be like, the chords are like this, and then it does this. And then he'd be like, what would be cool is if there was a harmony right here that did this little part here or floated just above this melody here. And we're like, yeah, let's try that. And then, they lay it down and, either yes or no. But I mean, it was usually spot on. These are really good dudes.
Yeah.
I had the fortune of being with some really, really sharp musicians on this record.
It's recording to me is always just fascinating because it's so hard to accurately capture what you want, right? And then a lot of times you really don't know exactly what you want either. You got a pretty good idea, and it makes me appreciate these older bands where they could go into a studio for 2 months with nothing,
right,
and just work something out
and just find it.
And you kind of realize that, man, those people were on a higher level of musicianship than the average person is now. Well, I shouldn't say the average person, but maybe the average performer.
That might be true.
You know what I mean?
That might be true. Yeah.
I think the studio, and part of it's probably just because those people would have a label backing them who'd say, "We'll front the money, go make something great."
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well.
And then and then we don't have the luxury of doing that nowadays. Now you're paying for things out of pocket, but you guys managed to kind of capture that experience in a week. That's very interesting.
Well, we also
that's pretty rare, right?
It's rare and it's cool, and I love my friends, and they're so awesome.
No, but I mean, it's rare. Like, you guys had one of those kind of studio moments.
Yeah, we did.
You didn't go in with 100% prepared material and like, here's what we'd like to do on day 1, day 2, day 3. Like, you went in with a blueprint.
Yeah, I went in with that blueprint. Like I said, I had the demo there.
Yeah.
And the demo it was drums, bass, guitar, piano, and then vocals, lots of vocals that I had done.
Mm-hmm.
And so they seemed really fleshed out when I brought it. And then you realize that when you get there, it's like, oh, this really is just kind of a blueprint that we're using.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I go in there and I'm like, what if we did this part double time and tried to keep this a little more upbeat,
mm-hmm.
or anything like that, like, it's just like, it really is just a blueprint.
So now that you're on the back end of it, of that recording process, now how do you feel about it? I mean, do you feel like you would attempt it that way again in the future?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Again and again and again and again,
Mm-hmm.
as many times as I can. I love recording with dead vinyl. Don't get me wrong. I love recording with a band.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I think that's just a different animal than what we
Mm-hmm.
did. What we did was that weird kind of magic in a space where you just have a smaller group as opposed to bigger group.
Yeah.
Smaller groups, more work lands on more people,
Mm-hmm.
but the other hand is that there's just less voices and less static.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In that creative space. I'm a big creative space person.
Yeah.
There's creative language.
What makes a good creative space for you?
Creative language. People who have good creative language is always important to me.
Give me an example of that.
Important of creative language. I have this idea for a guitar part, and it's to this song you wrote. And I know this bridge you've got here is really cool, but I think that if we had this guitar part here, that was like, and then you were just like, no, I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
That's. I get what you mean. And there's a nice way to do that. There's a nice way to let me seem like I'm still a creative in the environment, and you're not. And I'm not impeding on you. You can be like, I like that idea. Let's try it at another time. I think I have some other stuff I want to try right now.
Mm.
It's not a no. It's just a nice creative language that keeps everybody on a high and nobody has to hear any negative feedback.
Do you find it hard to do that, though, without sounding, like disingenuous, like corporate HR speak?
Sort of corporate speaking,
yeah.
But you know what? They have that for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like a thing. And I'm sure that there's hundreds of musicians even listening right now that are like, I tell people no all the time. Great, dude. Fucking great. I'm sure your shit's awesome. But
you're incredible.
I like to keep my shit in a positive space, I like to keep...
Yeah.
It's not that I won't say no, the word no, obviously.
No, but I like hearing that type of process because how many artists go into a studio, but they only have their studio experience to relate to?
Right.
You don't. That's something a lot of musicians don't really talk about. Is what you just said about communicating.
Yeah.
How to collaborate and work together.
That's important to me
Because especially when
stuff.
music is typically there are a lot of egos involved.
Oh yeah.
A lot of feelings could be really hurt. Like you worked so passionately on this thing, and I just told you in 5 seconds, like I don't think so.
No, that's not a good thing. I mean, that's music, but I mean, like we get it so much as musicians, we don't need more of it in some areas.
I remember I had worked on this guitar solo in one of the bands I was in, and I was just like, I was so pumped. I was like, they are gonna love this. This is
gold.
Fucking,
Yeah,
this
I'm
is
fucking
it,
Jimi
dude.
Hendrix.
This is gonna be the talk of the whole rehearsal, right?
Because you build yourself up in your head like that. Yeah.
And I'd worked on it, for like days. I was like, this is gonna be the perfect right here, this thing. And when they hear that, and I remember him just being like, the leader of that band was just like, I just don't really hear it that way. He was like, what you wrote kind of sounds pretty, and I'm looking for more like Quentin Tarantino. And no.
Oh.
And I was like, and it was constructive. You know, he gave me some.
Yeah, no,
but,
I like the language. Still a bummer.
And he was like, but what crushed me was he was like, why don't you, we'll just jam right now. Why don't you just try something like that right now? But I was so defeated on the thing that I was just like, I don't know,
I
man.
can't
Like,
even pick this thing up anymore.
dude, I worked on that for, like, I'll just have to work on it later.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And it was like, it was so, like, it's so personal.
It does feel like a personal attack, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's what separates a lot of really really great musicians too, is they're able to not take it personally.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Which is a hard skill to go like, it's music. This is what we do.
Because you're not playing any instruments anymore. This has to do with egos and sometimes very fragile ones.
You ever watch Joe Walsh when he's in the studio experience, like on documentaries and stuff?
I love Joe Walsh. He's
love
amazing, dude.
And his attitude towards like, it feels like he always has the like, everything's great because I play rock and roll all the time.
Yeah.
Of course, it's phenomenal.
Best job in the world.
What would I be upset about?
It's just like this is my job, dude.
Oh, if I could channel some of that attitude about life,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, have you ever seen him cussing anyone out?
No,
I don't have any clips that I've never seen.
No, they just doesn't have. I thought you had one on your phone. You're like, let's roll the clip.
Oh my god, if I had that, it would make me feel so much better as a human that like Joe Walsh gets that angry every now and then.
Sweet, okay, good.
But
it's good to see him throw a chair every once in a while, just because fuck, man, he's so nice.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, okay, that brings me to another question now, which is how I read something where you said this may only be an album, that you may not perform these things as a band. And I understand the limitations because you guys went into a studio and kind of hashed something out. But you do know you've made a great record, and you're going to have to figure out a way to take this to the stage.
I've heard that a lot.
You're going to have to do it. I
don't know how I'd even do it, man. It's just like...
Well, what do you think keeps you from doing it?
That's a good question. What keeps me from doing it in my brain, the logical part, the Spock in my brain, wants to say, well, you did this thing with 3 people, and you can't make 3 people play 6 instruments or 7 instruments. But then you've got the Kirk in your brain that's like, just find people that'll do it, and they love your music, and they'll just do it for you, and they love it, and it's gonna be cool. And it's like, I don't know. It's something that maybe I'll do it in the future. I haven't even thought about it right now, just because it was so much of a thing to just give birth to this record. You know.
Now that you have these versions, have you tried performing any of them solo, just on your piano?
I do them all the time.
Do they sound as enjoyable that way still? Like,
They're
are you
enjoyable
liking it?
songs. They're just they don't have quite the depth that the album tracks do. I play all the time by myself. I did the State Fair this year. That was super fun, and just other little places around. But like, and I always play those songs from the record, but they just sound more like.
Yeah, you know those parts are missing now.
Yeah, and there's parts that I can hear that it's just like, well, I don't.
Yeah, but you have to have a catalog of people that play that would be willing to do. I don't think that you do something like this where you're like, let's take it on the road and do a show every weekend, right? I think this is a several times a year event in different places that you get to curate a real show.
I would love that.
A real performance, like dare I say, almost rock opera-ish. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. High production, kind of big performance.
I think it warrants that because so many, just the album, obviously the way you curated the songs, it's like, I think you could perform it just like that. Like, are you familiar with the Violent Femmes?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We went to a festival in Plano, my wife and I, and to this day, one of the best performances I've ever seen was the Violent Femmes were on that festival. We didn't really know what to expect, right? Because they've been playing for what, like 40 years now?
Yeah, they've been playing forever.
Yeah. And the 3 nerdiest looking, non-musician looking guy, I mean, literally, like, it's probably not like this, but in my mind, the lead singer that plays guitar and has this incredibly, these weird, strange songs that are so... In my mind, he came out in jean shorts with a tucked-in T-shirt and New Balance shoes on.
Sick,
It may not have been exactly like that. Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm seeing a cell phone clipped to the waist, but I don't think it was really there. And they came out, and they just played their most popular album from front to back.
Really?
From song 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just in order. Just did
fucking in order. And if you
awesome.
And if you had told me, like, oh, they play their songs in order. Like, I don't know if that was a thing or if it was just that show, but if you had told me that they were going to do that, I'd be like, it's going to be so cheesy. Why would you do that? You know?
Yeah.
But then you realize it's like, you chose to put them on that album in that order for a reason, right? And then it became really cool knowing, like, okay, they thought that this was the best presentation of it when they put it on an album. So that's kind of cool. And then you started realizing, like, wow, there's this anticipation I didn't know I would have to go, like, that song's coming.
It's on the next one.
Here
Or
it
as soon as
is.
one ends and you know what the next one
fucking
is because they've been playing it in
You know,
order.
it's like, because especially like their bigger hits, like when one song ends and all of a sudden you know that he's going to do that solo, that day after day, right? And the crowd. I didn't know that Plano, Texas was going to sing every lyric to every Violent Femmes
they're
song.
big Femmes fans, too.
I didn't know, man.
I didn't know that either.
And we looked around. I think it only ran one year. I think it was called Suburbia Fest.
Is that what it was?
I
was
think
going to say
so.
Wildflower Fest, but I think that's
No.
different.
I think that's a great festival, but this one was like, I think it was maybe just a one-off, and I don't know why they didn't redo it.
Huh.
But it was like, they had acts like Alabama Shakes was on it, and
shit.
Third Eye Blind. Like, it's just
Third Eye Blind. The perfect career, by the way, Third Eye Blind. Right? One record and then
Dude.
just tour on that for, I don't know, 30 years.
forever.
That's amazing.
And but something about that Violent Femmes show always stuck with me. It was just so good. But if you told somebody just on paper, like, yeah, they're just going to come out, they're going to look like, you know, dads who kind of gave up on fashion and everything. And then it's just the three of them. There's not like a big light show or anything. And they had that one album, so they're just going to play every song off that album.
In order.
In order.
Front to back.
But it was incredible. It was incredible.
That's so cool.
And that's kind of how I see your album, minus like the dad clothes and stuff. It's like,
oh no! If I ever did it live, I would definitely do it in order.
But yeah, I think it works really well.
Yeah, because I put them in that order for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't write it in that order, but I was like, this is definitely the configuration of how I like albums to ebb and flow.
Yeah, the front half is very, very enjoyable, but I love by the time I've settled in on those back tracks.
Once you're on that, you know,
I think
sixth track or so, you're in deep with the feels.
I think the song. Well, man, I'm blanking on the names. Sam Hill.
Sam Hill.
By the time I get to that track, I'm like, I fucking love Sam Hill. I love this track. This is it, and that's why I say I see it as in like a. Like, I don't want to take it to a bar. I want to take it to like a theater and have like where it can truly swell and good acoustics.
Yeah.
There's no clinking glasses in the background. You know what I'm saying?
A seated audience, you know,
So
all in tuxedos.
We've got to get you to this point.
Yeah, well, we'll see what 2024
I'm telling you,
has in store.
I will be harassing you about this.
Got another letter from Travis again. I don't know.
Well, and I just don't see. I don't see many bands writing records that give them the opportunity to do that type of performance. You know,
I get that. I mean, a lot of what you see is kind of not to be insulting, but like a garage band kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know, it feels like that, and this is not that for sure. I would even count. You know, Dead Vinyl kind of has like a shotgun bar kind of vibe to it. But.
Did you ever see the TED Talk with I believe it's David Byrne from the Talking Heads?
No, I have not seen that one.
It's good. I'll send you a link to it. But he talks about why your band sounds that way is because of the room that you play in. So
that's an interesting concept.
You play, you write thinking about the room you're playing in, even if it's subconsciously, because that's what you're going to sound like, right? So that's why 80s arena rock is, you know,
so
right? Because you're in an arena where you can't do fast, intricate things. And then that's why, like, a lot of punk rock music, when it's played in places like CBGB, you're able to be fast and raw because you're not going to be able to do any effects in a small room like that.
It's teeny tiny and it's closed in.
And, you know, if you do more singer-songwriter type stuff, if you're playing in listening rooms, you probably started out playing in living rooms and on, like, porches.
You have people's house parties,
right.
stuff like that.
And he was saying that, like, a lot of bands, their sound is dictated by the rooms that are available to play in.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I will be willing to bet that's what's happened to a lot of the bands here in Fort Worth and Dallas, I'm assuming, is the venues available to play are these kind of shotgun style bars.
Right.
And so everyone ends up playing this kind of rock and roll-y or even indie, you know, rock sounding stuff.
And like when you're on your tour in California, right? And you're trying to gain new fans, right? You don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably don't have a lot of time to think, you know, let's get some like some of the deeper songs out there, you're thinking, we've got to get attention now.
Right. You've got 3.5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Because people are so fickle with their attention span, you know?
Right, yeah. They're only at the bar top for so long before they go back and smoke a cigarette or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and that controls how they say, oh, we saw this band, they were like this.
Right.
But that's really because they're in there getting a drink, and if they don't like the first song, they're going to the patio.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Just like, you caught a bad song. Hold on.
we're getting to other things.
I've got another good one. Hold on. Just stay there.
And it's not even good or bad. Maybe they just in that moment weren't ready to hear that song.
Right. Or they just weren't feeling that song that right then. Yeah. It could be an amazing song, and they're just like, you know what? I'm not feeling it.
What are some of your you perform a lot in Fort Worth?
I do. A lot of Fort Worth.
You feel like you're a part of that community?
Very much so a part of that community.
If you don't want to answer the question because you're worried it might hurt people's feelings, you don't have to. But what do you think are some of the great music venues in Fort Worth?
Some of the great music venues in Fort Worth. Well, Fort Worth is going through a metamorphosis right now when it comes to venues. And I'm sure you've heard about this before.
I feel like DFW is doing it all. And I'm so unfamiliar with Fort Worth. That's why I'm asking you.
It's kind of doing this metamorphosis thing, kind of post-COVID deal where a lot of places did shut down. Some moved, some shut down permanently, some became other things. I think the music scene right now out there is struggling with stages for sure. I think that some of the best ones to play at ever, in my wonderfully preserved memory, would be Lola's.
Yes.
Before they moved to the thing, they had this beautiful stage on West 7th.
I haven't gone to Lola's recently, but is it just a patio stage now?
No, they got the big patio stage and they got an inside stage, just like they did before.
Okay.
It's just a different vibe now, and I think that's fine. It's not a bad vibe. It's just a different vibe.
Is it the same location that it's always been, though?
No, they moved locations. They were on West 7th, which is kind of like a
I'm thinking of the old
downtown-y
location.
area. Yes,
Okay.
and that was one of the best stages you could play in Fort Worth. Touring acts from all over came to that stage.
Not only did I love that stage, but it was even down to like the door person and the bartenders.
Oh, yeah.
They enjoyed being a part of that thing.
Because they were a part of the scene.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, my wife and I talk about it all the time. We stress on like, if you don't love working at a music venue, don't hire that person.
Right, exactly.
You got to love it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the door guys there would always know the name of every band, every musician, everybody that was playing that night, last night, the night before.
And it was never like ID. It was like, what's up, guys?
What's up? Hey, you're
Man,
back.
Who y'all here to see?
Yeah.
Oh, rad. Yeah, cool. If you got your IDs, I need those real quick.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. All right, we'll see you around.
Super nice folks.
And it's like, that's so I felt like that was a lot of that venue, and it felt like a very Fort Worth thing to me. I didn't feel like our Dallas venues were doing that at the time.
Yeah,
it felt very Fort Worthy.
It feels like home. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, those were the big ones. Lola's and Grotto were the huge ones back then.
I never got to see anything at Grotto.
Closed. It was a bummer. But nowadays, people
what
play.
Style room was Grotto?
It was it was a divey bar, low ceilings, a stage that was maybe about. Half a foot off the floor. It was, and it smelled like cigarettes years after people stopped smoking in there.
Was it like a 50-person thing, or like how big was it?
Yeah, maybe 50, 60 people could fit in there.
So
on
tight.
It was tight, and then it had a little back bar area. I mean, it was just it was a stomping ground. It wasn't this amazing theater, this incredible sounding stage at all. It was just a stomping ground, which is really important for young musicians who need places to breed their music at, to fail and to get back up again and do that kind of stuff. That was what was so important about, all those stages that we used to have in Fort Worth, like the Grotto, Lola's, the Moon, stuff like that. Those were places where 20-year-olds like myself were just getting out of high school and forming bands could go out there and be loud and obnoxious and mess up and make mistakes and learn how to be a musician.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you, and I've been racking my brain on it probably over the last 3 weeks, maybe a month, about what it's going to take to revive that locally. Because I feel like across the board in DFW, and maybe I'm 38, maybe I'm just getting older and out of the know, but I feel like there was always kind of established veterans.
Right.
There were some people who'd been doing it a year or two. And then you always had your up-and-comers that were rough around the edges, but they were very interesting.
And they were 19 years old, 20 years old, young kids.
And I feel like it could be an age thing, but I feel like I'm not noticing any of the up-and-comers anymore. And I'm not noticing, like you said, these smaller venues where you can go see these people who are like in high school or just out of high school that started a band or an act or
and
a
they're
solo
trying
thing.
something, yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, is it that I'm not seeing it, or is it they don't have places to do that?
I just had this conversation with a couple buddies of mine, and it is so interesting that you say that because I think it's a combination of both. I think that the kids these days don't play as many live instruments as much as they do, say, I don't know, DJing or get into the minutia of sound mixing and things like that, or but creating beats and being more lyrical with their art, and that's cool too. But there's not as much picking up a guitar, sitting down at keys, and learning how to play, and doing that in front of people. I mentioned this to my buddy I was talking that with. I was like, when was the last time you remember going or being invited to like a house show?
Right.
I was like, I haven't been invited to a house show in 6 years. It's because I'm 33 and I aged out. I aged out of house shows.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay. So there is probably this scene of 25-year-olds out there that are all playing music together, that are all going to house shows together. I just don't get invited to them because I'm an old guy now, or whatever.
Yeah, but you would still see the grumblings of it, right?
I mean, maybe you would. Maybe
I would hope.
Would. I mean, if you saw that band that played at all those house shows come to a venue and then they have all these kids that come with them, that's how you'd know. It's like, oh, these dudes were popping off somewhere that wasn't here.
Well, because I feel like there aren't any stepping stones anymore.
That's what you need, is a stepping stone.
Right. There used to be a good mix of like Fort Worth Weekly, The Observer, Central Track, and all these things that
this media is the media.
Yeah, and it feels like a lot of that's just gone, or it's totally irrelevant at this point. And then, for lack of a better word, like maybe tastemakers, like people who just care. Not that they're like people who can make you or break you, but just people who are always going to be checking out shows, always going to be watching things. And it's like, I love doing this podcast to go kind of explore and find things, but it feels a little lonely. It's like, I remember going to shows and there would be like 10 people that you always saw that were either like photographers or bloggers or something.
Or people in other bands.
Right.
Just going out to
checking it out.
Just check out this other thing.
Yeah, and I just wonder why that's waned so much. And I don't have a good answer for it.
I don't either, but it's interesting that you bring it up because it is. I wish there was more of that. I think some of it has to do with the COVID thing. I know a lot of venues.
I'm sure a lot of it's COVID.
That, but I mean, once we get... people would argue in Fort Worth that it happened a little bit before COVID. That there was like this big.
What do they think was
rift? I'm not sure what the catalyst was, but it seems to be this that there's just not. You can't go from just playing in your room to playing the Kessler.
No.
You've got to have these smaller venues, or even, gosh, when I was 16, I was playing coffee shops.
Yeah.
Just bullshit coffee shop down the road, or what? Not bullshit. They were wonderful people.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean, though. It wouldn't be considered like the great gig. It was like, this is something I'm capable of doing right now, and it's going to allow me to get better. Yeah. The coffee shop knew, like, we're not getting the most famous musicians here.
And
they know.
If you ignore me, that's the bet. I'll take that, okay? Mm-hmm. If you actively boo, I know I suck. But if you just ignore me, I'm good, dude.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. It feels... I don't know. I don't know if I'm just jaded, but I hear so many people acting like they're these business savvy marketing geniuses about like how you need to release this and do that and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and if you want this, and I'm like, man, the only thing I think when I hear that, first of all, is just like, fuck off. It's like, God, it's just music, man. It's like, don't you ever just get excited about something and think this is probably a terrible business decision, but the music's incredible.
But if it makes you feel good,
right,
then let's
that's
roll those dice.
At least in Dallas, I feel like that is our current little cancer, is people are getting so caught up on the money that they're forgetting that it is an artistic endeavor first. And that seems it seems crazy, right? But then look at people like Jack White. He makes terrible business decisions. And then all of a sudden, Third Man Records comes out of it. Right? I think I remember watching an interview where he said, like, we might become profitable off the vinyl pressing plant in like 10 to 20 years. It was something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, he's like, now, I'm not in this to make money.
Yeah, now
to
granted,
make records.
He has White Stripes money and all this stuff. I understand.
Sure.
But the point being, it's like, he's probably not they're probably not waiting on Third Man Records to be foreclosed. That vinyl plant is cranking it out. They probably have a 6-month waiting list to press your record now.
Oh,
right?
probably longer than that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, and then when he said he was going to open up these stores in Nashville. And it's it's like
I went to one of those.
Right, and like at the time people were going, Jack, it's a more digital world. Brick and mortar stores are failing every day. I just don't think these kids are going to come in and buy physical things when they can download everything.
Why would you want physical media?
And instead, he can send a goofy little vinyl truck out around the country, and people will find it just off of a tweet or whatever, and like sell it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I feel like Dallas, maybe Fort Worth too, just needs to get just reinvigorated of like, I don't care about making the money. What sounds really fun?
Yeah.
And who would be fun to watch live?
What I
mean?
I know what you mean, man.
And then I think all of a sudden, like, people would just go, fuck, we got to watch that show.
We got to go out to that show.
We got to go to that.
Make plans Wednesday night to go see X, Y, and Z or whatever. And then, that's the thing, man.
I remember now when this thinking started. We went to a Fort Worth venue. Venue was beautiful. Tulips.
Oh, we love Tulips.
Beautiful venue. Okay, we went to
Tulips
watch the Deslons. Are you familiar with them?
I've never heard of them.
Okay, that's another problem. Phenomenal touring band.
Really?
Incredible. Okay. So it was on, I don't know, like a Monday or Tuesday night show because they're touring, right? And my wife and I, we bought tickets way in advance. We show up, maybe an hour early because we're thinking we want to get a good spot.
Right, you want to get up there.
And how many people would you say Tulips holds?
Oh, gosh, it's got to be what, 150s, 100 and something cap, right?
I bet it's more than that. It's a fairly large venue. It just is designed very well that it doesn't feel... Anyhow.
It's nice.
When we showed up, probably 6 people.
Oh, really?
6, maybe 6, 7 people.
Oh, man. Well, and that can't be for lack of promotion. I mean, Tulips does a pretty good job of putting it out there.
And then, it's like as the show came closer to starting, it was probably 40, 50 people maybe that showed up. But... it was like, why? There's this incredible band at a gorgeous venue with great sound.
Right, yeah. I mean,
what is the issue here? Because then I get worried. It's like, well, this touring band's probably not going to roll through here again next year because that sucked for them. I mean, they still came out and did a great show, and it's like, but when you're booking the tour, you're going to remember like, whew, we barely made gas money on that one. I don't know, man.
That's the thing you remember for sure. I mean, it goes back to that. What are you doing it for thing again? You know, hopefully they enjoyed the people enough, the 6 people that came.
I sure hope so. But I can't help but wonder. It's like, is it? Are there small people that need to be helping promote these things other than the venue and the band? Are there people that just need to
be a middleman between?
Devote themselves, like, I don't know, where are just the random people writing about like you got to go see the show when they come to town, or I don't know.
Where are those people?
Where are they? It's like, aren't you excited about this?
Are you listening
stuff?
right now?
I hope so. I would love it if there were 30 podcasts just like this one, showcasing it. It's like that would be beneficial. But
no, it would be because tons of people listen to podcasts, and that's just a way to get your ear on something. But man, that's a good question. I don't know.
What would you guys do with Dead Vinyl? Because I would consider that a successful band. Would you not? You guys have been making records for a while. You've been touring.
We've been we did tour. Last couple years, we've been working on kind of a record that has 2 sides to it. One side we've already released. It's called Day Shift. And we're working on the subsequent second half called Night Shift, which we did at Nile City Studios in Fort Worth, which is the place where the White Denim guys have played and stuff like that. So it was a really nice recording experience, and so we're going to try to get that out hopefully in 2024 and just push that record. A lot of those guys got married and had kids, and I'm not far behind them, so I don't want to like...
Yeah. Well, there's probably no more like just hitting the road for 3 months, right?
That's the thing you can't do anymore. Yeah.
But even if you didn't have like family and stuff going on, is that the thing to do anymore?
A lot of like if you're 20, 22 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's the thing to do.
Yeah, you think so?
I think at this age, no, not for me. There's different ways I can go about it. But if I could do it again, I would do way more touring as a young boy. You know.
What about the touring do you think was so beneficial? Just more ears?
Just more ears, and it's that organic growth. It's not trying to communicate with anyone through a phone screen. It's like, I am here, I am playing this thing. You gotta, and you're listening to me. And if you like it, you can be a fan right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Man, so how do you think you get that back?
You know, through the phone screen these days, it has to be because there's so much of a visual content aspect to anybody's anything anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, God, how many realtors have you seen that are like, I'm on Instagram, check out this house?
Oh my God, I follow I don't even live there. I follow a New York realtor just because I want to know the price of New York real
and
estate.
they know, and how much visual content do they have?
Oh yeah, for sure.
A ton. Their shit goes off every day.
I think that that word, I keep hearing so many. I get why musicians use it because you're forced to make content.
You have to.
But like, I was watching someone on social media, respond to some things, just typing things, and it was all very friendly because I was asking like a similar question, and it was all very like content-based content. And I'm like, God, just fucking kill me now.
They replaced the word art with content. They sure did that.
And it's like, whatever happened to just spending time making a great record and then do your best to promote it, but don't call it fucking. How many reels can we put out? How many of this can we put out?
How many reels can we split this into?
I think that's why I get so excited about
this
your record.
Podcast right here, how many can we split this into?
Jesus. That is like one of the banes of my existence is like when the episode does going. Because like I just had this guy on here who's a stand-up comic, Kevin DeAnda. He's a super funny guy. I think he's about 10 years younger than me. I think he's late 20s.
Yeah.
But he had this rich military experience.
Cool.
And he had these incredible stories where he's in Africa and he wasn't in a war zone, but like he was telling me about the only time he had to draw a weapon on a guy, and like he was moments away from potentially killing this person, and it ended up de-escalating like in a moment. And it's just this incredible story where you get someone who has tremendous military pride that is also talking about like that would have changed my life negatively forever if I had to kill someone.
Absolutely a different
And he's giving you this
trajectory,
incredibly balanced opinion about a really polarizing subject. And I'm here going like, okay, how do we find the best minute and 30 seconds of this? And it's like, fuck this system, man. It's like,
I know,
that's not a minute and 30 seconds. That is a 10-minute story that needs to be absorbed,
Exactly. Well, they do the same thing with you when you're releasing any kind of song or any kind of single, too. They tell you to pick, like, what are, like, the best 10 to 15 seconds of this song? It's like, you want me to pick 10 to 15 seconds of my song? Why can't you just give it the whole? It's like, because, we're going to put it in a reel.
Yeah.
And the reel is on the internet, and you got to watch this thing, and people are only going to get 10 seconds of it. And it's like, shit, the chorus? I don't know, man.
Yeah. Jesus. I spent a lot of time on this.
A lot of time on this. It's not just a chorus, man. But that's the thing, is a lot of times, a lot of days, a lot of days, a lot of years, a lot of months. Mm-hmm. It has just been about the chorus.
Oh, yeah. Don't bore us. Give us the chorus.
Oh, yeah, well.
I mean, but I refuse to think that. I think a lot of people are being told that, and then those people are regurgitating it because whether you like them or not, right? Just factually speaking, the most popular content right now is Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh, yeah. It's everywhere.
Where now, you don't have to listen to it, you don't have to lag it, but statistically speaking, his shows are between 2 to 3 hours all the time, every episode.
Oh, God, that's so long.
And he is the most popular show. He is more popular than any news network, more popular than anything.
That's wild.
So when people are like, everyone's short attention span, it's like, I don't know. The most popular show in the world right now, or at least in America right now.
Is longer than any other podcast you listen to.
Longer than anything. And there's no commercial breaks. Like, I mean, I guess now there's a few on Spotify. But anyway, it just shows like people will listen.
Yeah.
And I think it's just one of those things where like a couple people said it, everyone else regurgitates it, and people, it's kind of like you hear how people are like, new music's always released on Friday. And it's like, I don't know that that's a thing anymore.
I don't think
what are you
that's
talking about?
I mean, maybe when records got shipments in on Fridays, record stores did.
It's like,
maybe.
I think you release it whenever you want now.
Exactly. Yeah, you can just pick a day. It can be any old day.
Did you decide to go the route of like singles and then release the album? Or
I did. I went with 2 singles. First, I did Monaco Daydream back in March.
Okay.
And then I did Hotel Jumpin' in the summer at some point, and then I released the whole record because I was like, because they wanted me to do
Is it released through a label? I didn't look that deeply.
It is not through a label.
So who are they? Who are these
They
people?
are just like people that want to give you advice on how to release stuff.
Gotcha.
Which are always nice.
Good friends who care.
Good friends who care and want to see you do it right. They were like, yeah, you release a single one a month for 6 months. And I was like, well, the album is 9 tracks. We're not going to release more than half of the record and then just release the record. I was like, I'm going to do it old school style, like late 90s, early 2000s style. You release 1 or 2 songs and then the whole record.
Yeah.
And maybe a music video, which I didn't get around to.
Yeah.
But I did build a giant arcade machine that you can wear like a suit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why didn't you get around to it?
I ran out of money.
Do you want to make a music video sometime?
I'd love to make a music video.
I got some
sometime.
cameras,
dude. I've got a music video up in the dome up here.
Yeah,
and I've already got props built.
If it's shitty, we just don't have to release it. But we could always.
If it's shitty, it might be kind of. It's kind of cute.
We can always just try it. Anyway, we'll talk about this some other time. But what was your process of deciding the 2 tracks that are going to try to lure people into this album that you're going to release and say, "Ooh, I have to listen to this later"?
It goes back to that hooking them, how you can hook them. So I went with that first track because the first track on the record is Monaco Daydream. Starts out with that very Elton John "Take Me to the Pilot" kind of like, it's this very, but it's just piano. It's a great start to the record, I think, because it just kind of shows you what this record's going to be all about.
It sets the tone very well.
Right off the top, it sets the tone. And I thought choosing that for the first single would be great because that's just going to set the tone for the whole year for me, basically, of releases and stuff like that. And then I went with Hotel Jumpin' in the Summer because that's just a fun song that I actually wrote about our catastrophe in L.A. in 2020. And I wanted to start with those 2 songs because Monaco Daydream's about being broke, Hotel Jumpin's about touring with a band, and none of it's quite touching on the thing that is the whole record's, that is the heart of the record. The heart of the record is coping with loss and times and friends gone by, sort of a thing. It's very heartfelt. It's got a lot of heart to the record, but I didn't want to just punch you right in the face with that, and be like, my friend's dead, like, I wanted to ease into it a little bit, you know, like, just wanted to kind of, just like, everyone's been broke. That's a relatable song.
Yeah.
Not everybody's been touring, but that's still just a fun kind of, the song's called Hotel Jumpin'. It is a kind of a jumpy kind of song. You know, it feels good. So
bouncy and playful right out of the gate.
That's what I wanted to kind of display first.
Well, when you started on the songs that you were going to write for or about your friend or however you want to phrase it, what made you decide that you even wanted to write those? Like, what was the story that you felt you needed to tell that these songs needed to exist and come out?
I don't know if there's a story to it. It was, like I said, it was kind of a therapy for me. And I wasn't writing it for anyone. I was just kind of writing it for myself. And I wanted it to feel like something that I myself can come back to a decade from now, 2 decades from now, and have that tool to help me move through a loss that I haven't even experienced yet. And if it can help someone else in that way, then fucking bonus, I hope that it can help everybody that way. But, people... grief is such a weird thing for so many people, and everyone goes through it differently. I wrote a record. I don't know how many people do that when they do it, but I mean, if that record can help someone in that way, I think that's what I hope it can do.
What were the first couple of tracks that were in that lane that you wrote?
All the Way Gone. It's one of the first songs I wrote on the record, and it really was just one of those ones where it was tough to write, because you are, it's different when it's on pen and paper. It's premeditated like that, and these lyrics and these chords coming together. It was emotional. It was an emotional experience. "Dance on My Grave" was another one, which I had written the verses way before I ever wrote the chorus or came up with a title. I wrote the title when I saw my dad lost a friend around the same time as I did in 2018. And he spoke at his friend's funeral and said, don't tell anybody here today that you went to a funeral. Tell everybody that you went to a party. Tell everybody that you sang and you danced and you went to a party. Celebrate your friend. And I was like, oh, that's good. Not being so morose about something like
Right.
that, but actually feeling kind of joyous and happy for the life and the times that you spent with that person.
Now, when they gave you that advice, though, were you taking it that way initially, or were you like, whatever?
Well, at first it was kind of,
I had a grandmother pass away. I guess it was last year. Oh, I'm a bad grandson now for not remembering if it was this year or last year. But part of the reason was that she was very, very, very healthy into her late 90s. And then it just got to a point where she couldn't take care of herself anymore. She had
Did you say late 90s?
Late 90s.
Wow.
She was living on her own, I believe, at 98.
No way.
Yeah. And
good honor.
And I have an uncle that was literally living like next door to her, so that was a good system to help. And she has I have my dad and 3 uncles, so 4 boys were able to help out. And like they had done some stuff, like they cut the gas off to her stove because she'd left it on one time, that kind of stuff. Like, so she was like getting by, but but she was very much alert with it. But I think she had 1 or 2 falls where she was there for a minute, and she was refusing to wear like a life alert or something.
That's what'll do it,
right? So they put her into a facility, and then that was the beginning of the end. She just, I'm not going to live like this, and quickly downhill and passed.
Right.
But she had already said, like, because she had lived so long and was pretty healthy up to that point, that she donated her body to UT Southwestern for medical science. Right?
Oh, really?
And she was very much like, we're not going to do a funeral. We will do a celebration of life after I die and all this kind of stuff. She was very kind of forward thinking of that. And it was interesting because she passed, and like we all heard about it. You get text messages and calls, and then but her body went from, the facility to the hospital. And then once they're done with whatever goes on there, it's just cremation, and then you have ashes.
Right.
And I think that was maybe like a month process or 2.
Yeah, it takes a little while.
Right. And then we had relatives from out of town. So we were waiting for people to be able to come in. So I think we waited like 3 months or something before we had the celebration of life party, because it didn't matter. You weren't doing a viewing. You weren't putting anything on the ground.
When it's that kind of a thing, what you need to come equipped with memories and some dancing shoes.
It was very interesting. It's the only type of thing I've been to like that. And but it was interesting seeing people who had a couple months or a month, however long it was, to process and then show up to the thing.
Right, yeah.
Rather than it just hitting you like bam, bam, bam. Like we
Where
found out
a lot of emotions involved.
Next week is the viewing and the funeral, and that's it. And
it's still really raw.
Yeah. It was very interesting. It was a good way of doing it. I like that. Yeah. I don't know. I think that would be a good shift for a lot of people to go like, we don't really do funerals like this anymore.
Right. Yeah.
This somber, heavy thing.
Exactly. Everyone wears black.
Yeah. Unless you really want that. If you're like, I want you to be sad, damn it.
Well, they were goth, So.
Right.
Well, yeah. Everyone wore black. It was kind of what they wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, millennials will be the first people that just like absolutely party down at their funerals.
Oh, yeah.
He loved T-Pain. We're listening to T-Pain the whole time. I'm in love with a stripper. It's gonna be fucking great, man.
I want my ashes to be thrown into the ocean while you're playing The Lonely Islands. I'm on a boat.
Right, exactly, yeah. And everyone there, like, some people are crying, some people are laughing. It's going to be a weird experience, but we're going to dig it.
Oh, man, yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, that was the only thing I've been to like that, which kind of lined up with the lesson that person gave you. And it was interesting. I mean, I liked it. I think burying a body is strange. I mean, I know why we do it, but I think... God, there's
stuff like that is starting to get weeded out, though. Isn't
yeah,
it? It's starting to. I feel like my mom tried to give me the other day. She tried to give me the family dining room table. It's another one of these like old things that people used to do.
Yeah.
They have a dining room table that passes down through generation and generation and generation, and they're like, "Do you want a table?" It's like, absolutely not. That is a giant monstrosity, and I've got this nice, sleek, glass little dining room table. It's perfect for me right now. I don't need anything else like that.
You're like, have you been to our home? This matches nothing.
This is like a giant wooden thing that needs to be resurfaced. I was like, I hope stuff like that. I mean, it's just natural for that kind of stuff to just eventually get weeded out or whatever. And the dining room tables and burying bodies, thing of the past. Hopefully soon.
I hope so. It's very like. I mean, I don't know. Because I think, too, again, like more hippie-ish, it's like, what if when you die and you decompose, that's the way you pass on to whatever the next thing is, right?
Right.
Whatever it may be. But
if you're
now,
a reincarnation person, yeah,
sure,
absolutely,
yeah, or like if there's an afterlife, if there's reincarnation, if it's just all universal, whatever it may be, right? Just maybe it's just a different dimension. I don't know. But when you pump yourself full of formaldehyde and you put yourself in a box, it doesn't work anymore.
That would be the biggest jip ever,
right?
Oh man,
it's just like. It's going to take like another 1,000 years for you to get here, like, or however long. We have to wait till your bone is completely gone.
What if God's up there and he's just like, well, unfortunately, formaldehyde nullifies the heaven thing. So
what if he's what if he's like, what if he's sitting in like God corporate office and he's like, we've got a real problem with intake numbers. No one has been coming here.
No one's been coming here. Everyone's pumped full of formaldehyde.
They're all stuck in holding.
It's like, where are they? They're down there. What do you mean they're still down there? He's dead.
Didn't they just...
They pumped him full of chemicals and they put him in a box.
Why didn't they just put them in the dirt? The dirt was all there. It was free. You just had to cover them with dirt. The rest would have taken care of itself.
I built that in. I built it all in. I did that.
Oh, my God. There's this great comedian.
That's hilarious.
This phenomenal comedian was doing this bit about... if God came down and was like, what's going on down here? And they're like, nothing, man. I'm just like headed to work. And he's like, what's work?
He's work?
Like, it's like you go and you like, so you have money, like buy food and stuff. He's like, I put the food on the floor.
I put the food out here.
Food is there.
It's on the floor.
And it's like, yeah, but I want to like put bacon on it. Like
bacon?
And he just goes on and on and on. It's like, what do you mean? I left all the food out.
On the floor.
Yeah. I wish I could remember who did that.
It just keeps making its own food. Like, it's really easy.
Yeah, I heard there was a company who would put you in like the root ball of a tree.
I saw those where they put you in the little brown pod. Yeah, those are cool.
I love that idea.
That's super cool.
I think rather than going to like a graveyard, it would be so much more fun to go like, that oak is your grandfather.
It's your granddad. Yeah, look at him. Grandpa Hayden is just this giant oak tree struck by lightning last year.
In the way that was just him saying hello.
Just saying hello.
He loved 4th of July. And like you could like put your guitar on the trunk, and then 50 years it would grow around it, and your guitar would be hanging out. Anyway, but way and like I don't know. That just seems. I would rather have like great grandkids climbing through a tree that I was part of, or something.
Or kind of. I don't know.
I don't know how it really works. Or maybe God's like, sorry, man, if you didn't do that crazy tree shit, you'd be up here right now.
Now you're stuck down there for however long a tree lives. I don't know.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's interesting. So do you feel like the grieving process of writing a record really helped, or did it make you kind of dwell on it more? Or...
it helped. It helped a lot.
Yeah?
That helped a lot.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think that in a weird way, in many of those songs, my buddy Topher was kind of talking to me a little bit, kind of just guiding me in the right direction sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know that's weird, but that's kind of,
I don't think it's weird.
How I felt about it.
I think music in general is really weird. I think a lot of times...
It is, isn't it?
It comes to you in very strange ways.
Yeah.
So to think that you were having like a out of mind experience or something else was kind of there with it.
Right.
Because music's very strange.
It's weird. Well, it's a lot like a good idea. A good idea, you don't sit down and go, okay, I'm going to think of a good idea. You're taking a shit, or you're driving your car, or you're doing something really mundane and your brain's just happening, and that's when the good idea hits you. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with music. I mean, when I have never sat down at a notebook and a guitar and gone, I'm going to do this song. It's like it has to just hit you when it hits you. Mm-hmm. And that's why I always keep a little... Keep a little notebook on me. That's a picture of a butterfly.
There you go. And that's the next album, Butterfly.
Butterfly.
Oh, man.
Keep a little notebook on, just in case something happens up here and you need to get it down.
Oh, I wish I could. It might have been Matt Tedder or somebody that was on here.
I listened to that episode.
Oh, did you? It might have been him talking about being able to like let things go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, I can't do that. Where he could like play something and forget about it. I think it was Matt Tedder.
I think it was,
and he's like, it's fine.
Yeah, and well, just it's a beautiful concept.
Yeah,
I wish I could do that too. I think I tend to, especially when it comes to melodies and things like that. Lyrics I may let go, but I don't come across enough good melodies to let them go.
Do you use like your phone, like your voice app? Do you use those things now? Like how great of a tool is that to be like if you just had something you could just hum real quick.
And that is a thing that a lot of musicians use is the phone app. You just hum the thing or whatever. But I will typically remember it so long as I write the words down, how they arrange syllabically, because that's how I kind of see the melody within the words.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Sort of, but go on.
A melody has beats to it, and things like that. But sentences also have beats to them, I think, and when especially good lyricists at least have that beat to the sentence. And I can usually remember the thing if I see that the word is like this, and then I don't know. It's just like a weird way my brain works, I think.
Yeah.
Seeing the melody through the word, through the line. Yeah, I guess that's a hard one to explain. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah, that's
one
really
any
interesting.
further. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. It's like your great speakers, like Obama, for instance, talked in a very cadency style thing that
Obama
always
was,
yeah. There is a flow to it if you're a great speaker.
And it had a bit of a bounce to it when he would do it. And sorry, that's my best Obama.
It's great, man. It's great. Oh my gosh.
Oh, my favorite president. I love him.
I just want a president who feels like a president. At this point, I don't even care if I believe in them ideologically
At this point,
anymore.
it is who is the most impersonatable person.
Oh my God!
I feel like that's a prerequisite to be president now. It's like, how well can an average comedian impersonate this person? Because everybody was doing Trump for years.
Yeah,
everybody was doing Obama for years. And now people have been doing Biden for a long time because he's got that slower voice, and he's always being like, "Hey, man." Calling people man all the time, so groovy.
He's always got that point where you're having a conversation, but he's like, it's very like a person who wants to like prove a point, but there's no point to prove.
Yeah,
and it's like you guys are just at a campfire, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Because they'll just be like, and we went down the car wash, and I'm like, listen. If you want car washes in your life, it's like,
it just gets
what?
exacerbated for no reason.
What are you talking about, man?
Look, man, look.
Yeah.
He's so old, I can't do it.
Anybody who just looks like, this could be the first election year, 2024.
2024.
Where one of the candidates dies.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be a trip?
And I don't mean that in like a weird like...
Oh no, you just mean in the average life expectancy of a human kind of thing?
Yeah, look, Trump appears to be more energetic and with it than Biden, but he's also extremely out of shape and has a very poor diet.
You can't pound cheeseburgers every single day and make it to that far. I don't know how he's doing it.
And Biden, in my opinion, appears to have dementia and is struggling physically.
Yeah. Well, and he makes no effort to cover up those liver spots on his head, and that's concerning.
And it's like,
that's just concerning.
But it's like, we could have a candidate where it's like, the so-and-so group, they don't know what to do. Their candidate has passed. It's like, that's fucking absurd. That's how old both candidates are.
It'll happen. Well, what they'll do is they'll be like, we as the Democratic Party concede because our guy died.
I like how you made the jump there without knowing. You were like, Biden will be the one that dies.
Well,
that was your subconscious taking over there.
I think it just is because he's like,
dude, how cruel is it as a party to keep pushing that guy?
I don't know. It's such a bummer. I wish they wouldn't, but
no.
I wish they...
Both parties, by the way, it's like, y'all need to reach into your groups. There have got to be better options.
Yeah, but at least the Republican Party is like, we know this dude's kind of a psycho, and we don't want him, but we're in too deep now.
They're like, listen, we apologize. We started this.
We kind of ruined it. We blew it,
and we can't stop it.
We can't stop it.
But we have to stand.
No brakes on this dude.
If we step out, he will destroy us.
Yeah, he's already destroyed them. He's splintered their party into fucking two. The Democrats are just like, I guess. Who else but the old guy up there?
To your point about bands touring all the time, that's what Trump did. People don't like it, but that 2016, and I'm not a Trump fan, but I can acknowledge, like, in the 2016 election, he did what you're talking about. He toured.
Road-dogged.
He toured.
He road-dogged.
And he found these places that people felt like they were disenfranchised, and they're, that's a blue state. It's going to stay a blue state. And he was like, I think I'm going to go talk to him because these people aren't talking to him. And he won them over.
Yeah, and you don't go to the cities. You don't go to the big cities. You go out in the middle of nowhere. You find those old country folk that are like, you know what? I dig farming.
I loved Bernie from that aspect of like going to towns.
Yeah, he did a lot of that.
And I understand like he was very polarizing on subjects. I think he had a marketing problem. I think he kept saying free and because it's a hook.
A buzzword.
Yeah, and I think that was somebody giving him bad advice. And then like guys like Beto, it's like I don't know that Beto would have been great, But I did like that he was forcing the hand of like, I went to every single county in order to get elected.
Yeah.
And I think Republican, Democrat, Independent, you should have to do that.
You should try to.
You should have to go to
that.
every county, every state. And at least he was going to a Republican-dominated town hall, and they were just berating him essentially. And he's like, no, if you want to be in an office, this is what you got to do.
Yeah, this is how it is. You get people yelling
and it's like,
all the time.
There's got to be some young Republicans, some young Democrats, some young independents who are willing to do that.
Just some younger blood would be so nice. Oh my God, it'd be so nice.
Anybody, yeah.
I don't think anybody of our generation is like, fuck politics. You kidding me? That sounds...
I think Bernie's the last old guy that I would have gotten behind just because
Bernie's merch game was on fire. It was really, truly great. He had some of the best merch of any...
Well, I wanted him so badly to overturn Citizens United and take money out of politics, or take corporate money out of politics.
Oh yeah,
because I thought that will benefit everyone.
That's only going to do good. You know?
Yeah, but whatever happened, we're not going to turn it into a political show. But anyway, how long have we been going here now?
I don't know. I just pull out a red cap and I'm just like ready to go.
You're like, I mean, at this point though, I don't care. I talk to Republican, Democrat. It's like
that's good.
I mean, they've all got great ideas and they've all got shitty ideas.
Sure.
And that's the idea. And I don't think it should ever be dominated by one side. I think you have to blend it, and that's how you keep each side in check.
Well, they used to have that. They used to have what was people like that would kind of skew towards the middle. That was a thing that I even remember from like the 90s, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people would be, there'd be like this guy that was... He's a Republican, but he agrees on some Democratic policies. Mm-hmm. And now it's so far this way or so far that way that it's like never the twain shall meet.
And if any of them step middle at all, their own party is
they
like...
ostracize
them. Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Like, what are you doing? The whole idea is that we all live together.
Yeah. Oh, we got to find something that works for everyone. You know that, right?
Everyone, yeah.
It can't just be for your side or my side.
Yeah.
It's got to work for everybody.
It's like, look, we cannot give everyone in this country tanks, but we also can't get rid of every single gun. It won't happen.
It just can't happen.
But I bet there's somewhere between that we can all figure it out.
There's got to be a middle ground where maybe less kids get shot.
Yeah. It's right? Like we have to do something, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird times, man.
Weird times.
Do you feel like it's actually weird, or we're just becoming aware of things?
No, it's actually weird.
Yeah,
I think it's actually weird.
I try to ask older people, like, do you think this shit's crazy too? Or
I know they thought shit was sorry.
Yeah.
I know they thought shit was crazy when they were young too.
Yeah.
Because fucking Vietnam was nuts.
That's true. I mean, like World War II had to be.
Oh, I bet it was an insane time to be alive in World War II, dude. Yeah, I bet it felt like the world was over.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't know what the fuck was. I bet it felt very similar to this. The difference is between now and then, or any other time, is that technology in the last 10 years, 15 years has gotten so incredible, has advanced hundreds of years. It feels like. You know, I mean, we are literally Star Trek style talking to people on our phones with their picture, and they're right there.
Yeah.
Everyone is connected to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We're all plugged into the same thing, and that's what's making everybody so stupid crazy. My dad used to never get upset about something, and then now he reads one comment on a Facebook post, and he's twisted off for the rest of the fucking night, you know? It's like, dude, it's chill.
Yeah, it's always, I mean, I love technology so much, but it's definitely, it's like, it's fire. It's warm, but it burns your house down, right?
It does,
and
doesn't it?
Just knowing how to use it, but yeah, I think you're right. I think
Mark Zuckerberg, our Prometheus... Let's tie his ass to a rock, dude. Fuck that guy.
What's so weird about the billionaire thing to me? It's like I don't think I know people hate billionaires, and I don't know. I go back and forth on it, but I don't think you should be forced to do anything with your money. But I think you should have an overwhelming guilt and obligation to do something with your money.
Sure.
Like you're smart enough to make that. You should also be smart enough to understand, like, you can change the world for the better.
Sure you could.
And you can choose whatever thing you want.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Whatever way you want to do it.
But, like, you don't need that much.
Because the bottom line is, could you, even personally spend $1 billion? No.
It'd be tough. People think
It'd be fucking tough.
People think like, oh, I could do it in a day. And it's like,
you
okay.
could not spend $1 billion in a day.
Yeah, if you're trying to buy like a country. But we're talking about like a realistic, normal
and even that
life.
would take like months.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, no, you're not going to burn through.
You would never spend. I would have trouble spending maybe even like, I guess you could buy a home nowadays for $1 million.
Yeah, But I think you could do $1 million in one day, no problem.
No problem. But I mean, we're talking about How much is a billion? 1,000 millions?
Mm-hmm.
That's so much money, dude.
When
That's so much money.
When Bezos was worth 120 billion, which I think he's worth more now, but somebody did the math and they compared it to they showed you that you could make $70,000 per day from the time Jesus was born.
Whoa!
And you still were almost as rich as him. It was like if he was worth 120 billion, then it was like you were at 119 billion. 70 grand a day for 2,000 years.
That's in a day.
A day.
A day.
Day.
Holy fucking shit.
And so you just realize it's like, and then you hear like he's building a mega yacht, you know,
or he's got the space station. He's building Elysium up in the fucking,
you know,
yeah.
It's like, it's like, man, you could pick your one problem, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you could probably find a cure for dyslexia. Like whatever you want to, whatever your thing is, you could do that. And the fact that they choose not to, you're just like, douche.
You're a douchebag. You're a douchebag.
Because I mean, really, it's like we were just talking about farming. It's like we could have, with $120 billion, you could build the infrastructure over like a 10, 15-year plan to have the most sustainable organic food grown in the country that's better than anywhere else in the world.
You could do it, and it wouldn't even take a dent out of his whole work.
And then on the flip side, you would probably actually end up making a shitload more money because everybody's buying your fucking food now.
Yeah, and then you'd be the next Bezos.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just seems, you know, like Amazon, for instance. It's like I don't think anyone should be able to tell you what to do with your company. It's your company.
Sure.
Fine, but when your company is valued at that much, shouldn't the bragging rights be like, man, nobody leaves Amazon because not only do you make more here than anywhere else, your health benefits are incredible. And have you seen the work hours? We're only doing 25-hour work weeks, but you're getting paid 40-hour work weeks because we're Amazon, baby.
Because you're Amazon, and you can afford to do that.
Amazon.
Yeah, and our daddy Jeff can do it.
Your dental sucks? No, it doesn't. We're changing dental, Rick.
We're changing right now. Call him. Get him on the horn.
Yeah. Call all of dental. Everyone.
All of okay.
And then you could just do like, you know, commercials where it's just like, listen, our employees are the happiest and our products are the cheapest. And if you keep buying from us, it'll stay that way.
Yeah.
And you'll just
going
go
to get your packages and it's going to be great.
Yeah. And you'll just go, I buy everything from Amazon.
Yeah. But no. Instead, you buy everything from Amazon. And what do you see day after day? You see people on your Instagram stories like, hey, I work for Amazon and my life sucks. And I still can't make rent.
I pee in a bottle at my workstation.
Yeah. And they won't. Then there's no AC in here and it's 117 degrees.
It's just crazy knowing like I was looking online. I get interested in these things. And I was looking online at jobs at Buc-ee's.
No shit.
Buc-ee's. The gas station.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this was a job listing that I looked at several months ago, but it was for a Buc-ee's, I think, in Royce City. Okay. And they were looking for a car wash manager.
Car wash manager
at a gas station.
Hourly rate or salary?
Salary rate.
Salary rate.
What do you think the salary was to be a car wash manager?
He's making he's pulling down $75K a year.
It was, I believe, $120,000.
What the fuck? Really?
And you have paid time off. You have a 401k. Now they did have requirements, like I think you needed a bachelor's in something, and you had to have like 3 years of car wash management experience. But there was like a ladder. There was an assistant car wash manager position that was, I believe, an hourly rate, and it was like maybe in the 30s or something.
That's amazing.
And you're thinking like, this is a non-publicly traded gas station company, and they're offering. Now I don't work for them. It could be a shit job. I don't know, but on paper, it's like that's a lot of money to essentially work at a gas station, and I'm not mad about it. That's what it should be.
I mean, that sounds awesome. What you're telling
incredible.
me is that the people that work at Buc-ee's are living high on the hog.
I mean, fancy schmancy Buc-ee's employees.
Fancy schmancy, and they got a nice big white brick house somewhere out there in the middle of nowhere.
But I mean, you know, their hourly rates for entry level positions were still like in the 20s.
Yeah, I mean that's more than I've made it. Like a lot of the jobs,
and they had paid time off.
Yeah.
You could. I believe they had a 401k. I know I'm just doing an ad for Buc-ee's right now. I didn't mean to do this, but the point was, like when you go into facilities like that as a customer, there's a reason like the craze of Buc-ee's has taken off.
Oh yeah,
it's because those people seem happy when you go into work. they don't feel like they're just getting fucked all day long.
Well, but now we know why. It's because they're getting buku
They're
bucks.
super rich.
Yeah. Everybody's like, I don't give a shit. You can spit in my face, dude.
They're
I don't
hanging
care.
out on yachts at whatever, Royce City Lake.
Royce City Lake. They got lots of yachts out there.
But but it's like, if Buc-ee's can do that, what the fuck could Amazon do with its workers?
What could they think that they would take a lesson from old Buc-ee?
What can Walmart do?
Oh, Walmart's even crazier, man. Walmart's got so many stores and so many employees, and
it would be so easy. It would be beyond easy.
We need to talk to John Walmart or whatever his name is.
Man, I read books on the original guy, Sam Walton.
Walton, that's his name. Yeah.
He was very much like, at least the way the books were written, right? He was very much like man of the people.
Yeah, he was a hero.
Like, people could retire from Walmart, and you weren't buying Ferraris, but you weren't starving.
But it was a job. It was a job that you could have, just like if you were the guy that changed oils at Jiffy Lubes or whatever. I mean, that's probably a career that some people have, you know?
Yeah. I mean, most people now talk very shitty about whatever job they have. None of them feel like their job is very valuable.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't feel like they're valuable either. And I think there's real reason for that. And it's like, maybe that's what's permeating out into all this other stuff where it's just like, no one feels like they need to do anything because there's not a goal to work towards. Even within the music industry that we're talking about, it's like, well, if it's too hard to make a buck at this place and it's too hard to do that, and nobody has a reason to have passion about it anymore, then why are you going to be like, I'm psyched to do this?
No, that's interesting. You know, I mean, everyone's got a passion and everyone has that stuff they want to do, but somebody's going to have to grow the food. Somebody's going to have to do that stuff, you know, eventually. Somebody's going to have to change the oil. Somebody's going to have to be a plumber.
Yeah.
Somewhere on down the line. We can't all be DJs and pop stars, unfortunately.
Oh, man. Yeah, whatever happened to the pride of just being, and I say this as someone who's like on a podcast interviewing a musician, right? But it's like, whatever happened to the pride of just like, I don't need to be known. I just want to do a good job at what I do.
Well, self-pride is what that is. I don't know. Before your entire life was just a brand on the internet, I think that was a little easier to do.
Yeah.
But now it is. So it's hard to make your life look cool when you clean toilets or whatever. I don't know what people do.
That's interesting. You could probably make that look cool.
There's someone out there, I can guarantee you, that does it. In fact, you know what? I might follow a few.
Yeah. If you're the toilet genius, please write in.
Please write in. Or you know what? Give me a follow, Hayden Miller TX, you know. Give me a follow. I'll follow you back, homie. That sounds amazing.
How do you feel like it's been getting the word out about a solo project now that it's not the band versus your work?
It's been hard, but I've had some good pointers from some friends and stuff like that.
What do you think's been hard about it?
Well, money. Money's
Really?
funding is easier when you're in a band because you get money from shows and you get money from, if you need to split something 4 ways or 5 ways, however many people in your band, that you can do. With this solo project, it all pretty much financially lands on me, so I got to pay for all that stuff. And I'm still so, what do you say? I guess I'm still new at how this all works still, you know? With Spotify and iTunes, and nobody really buys any records anymore. Nobody buys a CD anymore. God, CDs are just like basically coasters now.
Yeah.
I decided to forego that whole thing.
I feel so rude when there's a band I love or something, and they want to give me a CD, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I know. I'm never gonna play it.
And you feel like a dickhead, and the band feels like a dickhead. And they're like, why did I even fucking make these?
I'm sorry. It's just I love CDs, but nobody uses them.
And it's just like they don't even make cars with a fucking CD player anymore. They don't. It's just not something that happens anymore. It's such a... And it doesn't quite have the boutique aspect that vinyl records would have.
It will, but not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Just like tapes kind of are starting to come around to that, cassette tapes.
I think CDs will come back, though, because it sounds so good.
It's perfect. It's the same thing as the digital shit that you're listening to on your phone. It's just it's physical media.
Yeah.
What you have to.
It is better quality though. It's not as
compressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot more dynamics to it.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. It's good audio. The thing is there has to be this thing that comes back around to people loving physical media again. I am a huge proponent of physical media. If I can get anything that I love in a tape, on a record, in a DVD. I have a wall of DVDs at my house and a wall of records. I've just got so much physical media at my house because I obsess over it. But it's gone now. People don't give a shit about that stuff anymore because they would rather use that wall space for something else, I guess.
Yeah, I know vinyl's leading the charge. I'm very happy about that.
Oh yeah.
But did you ever get like random DVDs of like live performances of bands and stuff?
Oh, I still have some.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, and those were so eye-opening to learning about the band you loved, right?
And how they played live, what they looked like live and stuff.
Oh, that's the kind of drum kit he uses. Oh,
that's that guitar. That's that move that he does.
Dude, it's like I love.
Now I can rewind it and watch it again. I'm going to do that move.
and I loved punk rock music, and it was like, oh, they put those stickers on that guitar. Oh, what is that? That's pretty cool.
Band? Yeah, pause it real quick.
But it wasn't there was something charming about shitty home camera footage versus like 4K cell phone footage.
Right, yeah.
It felt like you landed on a secret. Like, ooh. And it's like, it's so strange. Give me a rundown. A lot of people don't understand what you talked about with money. But give people a rundown of like the expenses you had to create this album. Like,
oh gosh.
You don't have to tell me numbers, obviously, but just tell me like these are things that you typically have to pay for if you want to get something done.
If you want to do it the way I did it, which I would consider a professional recording, I dropped about $10K on it, and I don't mind telling anybody that because it's expensive. Yeah. It's expensive if you want to do it right. Because there's things. I mean, it is impossible to know all of the aspects that you need to know. Not impossible. Obviously, people are out there like Charlie Puth or whatever that do everything themselves, and that's very cool. But if you're just like me and you just want to put out a record, the recording process itself takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and then you've got to spend, that's several thousands of dollars, and then you've got the mixing, which is a whole step after it's already done recorded. Now it has to be mixed, and then that's another, $1,000 or so, and then if you want to get it mastered, you have to get it mastered if it's going to be on radio and stuff. I went through mastering with George Richardson, who plays with Son of Stan out in Fort Worth and Dallas and stuff like that. He's a good musician.
And even if it's not on radio or anything, mastering really is just so important.
It is so crucial.
Yeah.
Just to putting that little bow on the top there, that is really an important step. That's a whole other thing you have to pay for.
I don't consider myself a great audio engineer, but I went to audio engineering school a long time ago. And so I have a great knowledge about it, right?
Right, yeah.
And the one thing I can always say about mastering is just when you've been working on an album for like a month or whatever, and somebody's been mixing it and just listening, and it's like part of mastering is like you just need a fresh set of ears on this thing to hear all of your flaws, to clean it up a little bit.
Because there's something in there that you and all of your guys aren't hearing yet.
Yeah.
That once that fresh set of ears gets on there, it's this is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just makes it's like you're never trying to cheat and make a record sound like something better than it is. You're just trying to make sure there aren't the flaws there.
There's a line you have to walk.
Yeah.
To not make it sound overproduced, but also make it sound produced enough to where it's not a basement recording or whatever. Like there's a fine line to walk there. But
I remember one of the bands I was in, we went to do mastering at this place in just outside of New York, and they had mastered like a bunch of bands that I really liked. And so I was like, and I had just enough time off or something. It's like, so we flew up there. And they let us like sit in the mastering suite with them.
Nice.
And just watch their work. And
those mastering suites are so quiet.
And this guy was so cool. I wish I could remember his last name. His first name was Alan. I remember the company was called West Side. And it was really cool. I don't even know if they're still working, but he just had done incredible albums. Like at the time I was huge into punk rock music, and he had done bands like Against Me when they were at their huge height of great records. And anyway, he had this amazing suite where, like, he sat at the back of the room, an incredible wall of speakers to choose from in front of you, because he was mixing on all sorts of sizes and arrangements of speakers.
He would sit in the very back?
He was, he was behind us, and then he had a couple chairs right in front of him that we could sit in while he worked. So we weren't seeing him. We were just hearing, like, speakers switch to different speakers and him working on stuff.
Isolating parts.
And you would hear him, like, isolate something, work on it, put it back in, isolate something, work on it, put it back in. And then by the end, he's like, okay, here's what you brought to me. And here's where we're at. And you're just like, fuck?
Night and day. You're like,
I didn't. What
wow.
did you do? Why? You know,
Mastered it.
and again,
dude.
you spent so much money on a mix, and you're like, what did we pay that guy for? No.
Yeah, I know. It seems like, what if you're going to redo everything? Why did we even pay that asshole? No, it's
no, but
it's
just
all important stuff.
But just
you
the
know?
stepping stones.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if
Oh, yeah.
and if you miss any one of those, people are like, why does this record not sound great?
Right. Well, it will tend to skew more lo-fi if that's not something that if you're not going for.
Yeah.
The mixing, the mastering is important.
And that's just getting your music. We haven't even started talking about like
oh yeah, that's a lot of
photography and
thousands
taking
of dollars right there.
yeah.
I mean,
And what about like you've got to now market this thing?
the photography takes forever to do, or not forever, but it's like because you need to, in this age of internet stuff, you need to be able to have a look and a vibe, and they say, you need like 3 words that describe your...
Ooh, I haven't heard that.
3 words. It's like a Sony marketing tool.
Okay.
Where they say, if the best things, you can describe them in 3 words. What mine are, I have no idea.
I was going to say, did you actually pick 3 words? Or
No.
Did you, okay. I wasn't going to make you say them.
But I did tell my photographer when I got him, I was just like, what if it was like honky tonk, kind of Texas Elton John? And he was like, deal. We'll make that work.
That's really cool.
So
But
I got some real great photos.
But like your photos are great, by the way.
Thank
and
you,
I
thank
feel
you.
like the style you went for is the theme is very clear and consistent, and I love when people do that.
It's with the music. It's with everything else. Yeah.
Even-
Shout out to Zach Burns, who just really did a great job on
I
these photos.
started following because of your work.
Oh,
'Cause,
really?
Yeah,
He
I
does
thought what
great
he
work.
did was great. Yeah,
He's incredible.
and but even down to your like the I don't know if you use a link tree or whatever, but even that it's themed up.
Oh yeah, it's all pink and blue.
Yes,
but
but
you got to do a thing.
But people forget like the details.
You've got to pick a color scheme to your shit. It's so important. I know that sounds dumb, but if you're making a record and you really want to put it out and do this kind of a thing, pick a fucking color scheme. Pick some colors you like that you can keep reusing and keep ringing those bells to make people go, oh, that's a blue and pink thing. That's probably one of Hayden's deals.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It just keeps people...
It makes me sad that physical mediums aren't as popular now because it sounds like you get excited about this and like you would run with it. And that if you were able to do a CD booklet right now.
Oh, I've got a front and a back to the record, to the vinyl record.
Yeah.
When I can print that, I have no idea. I've run out of funds.
Oh my goodness! I made a one-off vinyl record. It's only on a vinyl. For a band called Brave Little How that I love, and it was like a very
Love Brave Little How.
Oh, okay. I'll give you one of the
Where?
records then.
Oh,
but
sweet.
it's here.
Do you really have it right there? Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, so you can
it's
take it
right
home
here,
with you.
dude.
So anyway, we rented out this little cabin and did a live performance, like no PA, no anything. Like you just played how you would hear it in a living room.
Yeah.
And we recorded. Originally, we were just going to try to get like a song, but I loved the way it sounded, so I pushed them into making it a vinyl record exclusive. It's not streamable. We put one song out to stream to try to push it all, but I just viewed it as like the icing on the cake. If you're a fan of Brave Little How, like it'll never sell 1 million copies, but if 100 people love it,
it's this really fun stuff.
Yeah.
That like you said before, it kind of feels like a little secret.
Yes,
it's like only if you're a big fan of it, you've got this record and you know that it's really good. It's got some different takes of some different songs. I'm assuming on it.
Yeah, and it's just every song is kind of a different take because like since there's no PA, they had to tailor everything to that room a little bit.
Oh, and their vocal styling too.
Everything is different than you hear it on the record, and
that's so cool.
Total one-off thing. And then it gives them opportunities to like talk a little bit between songs. And there was 0 edits.
Really?
Yeah,
it's just a straight through cut.
Straight through.
Wow.
And warts and all, right?
Yeah.
Like little mistakes happen here and there, and it's like you hear the creak of a door opening every now and then when someone went outside to like smoke a cigarette or something.
But that's kind of cool,
I loved it because the whole idea was like, let's give you an experience that you would get if you were just listening to somebody jam in your room. And anyway,
right, yeah.
But that's the only vinyl record I've ever like printed, on my dime. And
who'd you do this through?
Gotta Groove Records.
Gotta Groove Records.
Gotta Groove. And someone, I can't remember someone recommended them because their customer service was just really, really good.
Are they out of here? Are they out of Dallas? Or
They
out of somewhere else?
I don't want to botch this. I believe they're Cleveland?
Oh, Cleveland putting out some records, huh?
Maybe. I can't remember. But true to the advice, like, since that was the first thing I'd ever done, I was super worried about fucking up.
Right, yeah, you don't want to ruin it.
Thousands of dollars to print a vinyl,
Oh, God.
And
it's
thankfully, they were calling us, Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland.
They were calling us without me asking, and they were just like, "Hey, I think your artwork's kind of fucked up here. Do you want to take a look at this?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, what's the issue?" Like, yeah, it needs to be in this format and this way, otherwise it's not going to look right.
Oh shit!
They were like jumping out ahead, and so that was really cool.
That's very cool.
But yeah, it's like I don't think people realize it's like just to print that record. Especially if you're on a level like us where we're not printing 50,000 copies.
We can't.
Right.
We can't sell 50,000.
So
we can't sell fucking 300 copies.
So the margin is so slim.
It is.
That even if you print that vinyl, it's just going to be for your fans. You're not going to make money.
It's true.
The goal is to break even on it and have something cool to put out there, you know?
Well, yeah, and the expense is pressing the plates. Obviously, that's what costs like $1,000 or $1,500 just to press those plates.
Yeah.
And then to make it worth it for a place that does that, you have to print like a minimum of like 300. This is what I've run into recently is you've got to print like 300 records. And I'm like, is there any way we can do like the 100? Maybe is that cool? And they're like, no, because it's not worth it for us.
Yeah, now they're not making money.
Now
either.
they're losing money, and I'm like, I don't want to fucking bust anybody's balls here. I just have to wait until I have the money for that kind of a thing. It's just it's 300 records. What would I do with 300 records? You know, I don't have 300 fans yet.
But see, that's where I'm taking it as a personal point of pride of like we're gonna have to figure out how to get these physical like in-person shows alive again. Because that's where you raise the funds, right?
That's where you get the fans the best is right there in person. Yeah,
that's it. And it's like that's how you raise enough money to go, we're going to print some vinyls, right? It can't all just be crowdfunded. I mean, you can, but it's just such a hassle.
And you can't keep doing it again and again.
No.
Nobody likes the Moochie band on the internet that's like, hey, we're going on tour again. Give us money.
What is that Bernie thing when he's like, I'm once again asking you for money.
I'm once again going to ask you for some money. I'm going to sit in a folding chair with my mittens and wait for you to just give me money.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was great going through that experience of printing it because I learned quite a bit. And then now when I see someone's more modest vinyl, like I'm like, I fucking get it. I know why you made these choices.
Absolutely.
You know, because I was very judgy. I was very like, really? Single sleeve? White paper?
Oh, no cover art?
Nothing?
What?
It wasn't even shrink wrapped. And it's like, shrink wrap's like 20 cents a record. Do you know that?
Oh, my God. Yeah. It ends up being hundreds of dollars more to shrink wrap your bitch or to put a barcode on it or something.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
So annoying.
The decisions that were made, like if I wanted to do that exactly the way I wanted to, and I love the way it came out, but there are still things where you're like, I compromised here and there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, yeah, this would have been, a car. This would have been a moderately priced.
You could have bought a used car,
mid-ranged car. Yeah,
absolutely, dude. I mean, for what I've spent on my record so far, I probably almost could have put the down payment on a house, But instead, I went with a fucking.
But really, like people should let that sink in. In order to create some art for you to listen to, someone sacrificed a down payment on a home.
Pretty much. I wouldn't buy in a home in this climate anyway, but it's a thought.
But again, you're making a terrible financial decision to create something cool, to create something that is hopefully helpful to people.
And hopefully lives forever.
Man, there was a moment.
Immortalized,
There was a moment where when these records started going out, because we had people that were kind enough to like order them and do pre-orders and things. And I had a lot of fun where I'm like, posting pictures of me, mailing boxes out and stuff. And then I had people tagging me and stuff where like they're getting it in the mail and they're opening up. And there was this one incredible moment where this guy was like, he'd filmed him and his son, who was probably like 4 or 5, little kid.
Yeah.
Getting the thing out of the mail, opening the box, and the kid's like, he doesn't know what this is. He's never seen a record. Maybe his dad has records, but this is a new experience of like getting a record in the mail. And so he's like pawing all over it, trying to see what this is. And then it dawned on me, it's like, vinyl records, CDs, those things. It's like, it's kind of like the furniture. It's kind of like the table you were talking about. It's like at some point, your vinyl collection is probably going to be passed down to somebody.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Wow.
It's not
point,
disposable. So there's a good chance that your vinyl record is going to live through a couple generations.
Let's hope so.
Right? Because someone's going to be like, I can't throw it away. Look at that. We got it.
Or when you have that many, it's just like, gosh, hopefully somebody still wants this stuff out there. I don't know.
But I think that's why eventually, like, you'll get yours on vinyl, and like people should probably help you do that, because it's like that version of it will live so much longer than a digital version.
Than the Spotify thing that's out there with, God, who knows how Spotify,
Well, what
how
happens,
long that'll last.
I was going to say, what happens in 15 years when Spotify's just over?
Or like something else, it comes up that is the new Spotify, that you now have to put your thing, because this is the new streaming music service, and Spotify becomes the MySpace, and it's like, who cares, you know?
What do you think about, I'm polling musicians, but what do you think about with if you're going to use technology to your advantage, right? Have you seen the new Apple goggles that they're pushing?
No, what?
Oh, so they look like ski goggles, where you're seeing through them, and I can't remember what they call it, Vision Pro or something. I don't know, but basically it's like it's augmented reality.
Okay, so it is the whole sci-fi thing where you put the things on and it becomes the they them or they live thing where
like you're in your environment, but like your whole field of view now can be a 4K television screen or whatever, right? Because it's within the goggles, but you can make it look like that's just on your wall. Like you can have things in your environment.
So you see through the goggles and you're seeing this podcast studio, but I've also got an episode of Friends playing up here, or something like that. Is that
or maybe it's like as you're talking about your record, it's like you pop up a little image next to you that I can see in my goggles or something. Yeah,
oh, cool.
all sorts of things like that, and it's one of those things where technology's going there, whether it's Apple or somebody else, right? And so it instantly got me thinking, like, okay, if we can't get these people to come out to Tulips in Fort Worth, right? Can we set up some, VR cameras that are 360 in the room, where you look like you're in the crowd next to something? Like you can just put on your goggles, you're at the show, and you're looking left and right, and you're seeing the people around you.
Yeah.
And you can switch your cameras and be in different parts of the venue.
They do that already with comedy clubs, I think.
Yeah, but it's not as...
But it's like...
It's in the infancy. But what I'm saying is, like,
much so in its infancy.
If you hop out on stage and you see like 6 of those types of camera setups and people all standing around them, but it gives you the ability, like, let's say you sold out 200 seats at Tulips, whatever it is, right?
Right.
But you could sell like 3,000 tickets online also.
See, that would be awesome.
You like that idea? I didn't know if that sounded terrible or not.
I mean, it's kind of what we were doing in pandemic times,
Yeah, but it was just done very poorly.
It was done poorly. Well, nobody had time to think about it.
I know, right?
It was not premeditated. It was just like, we better figure this out on the jump.
Yeah.
Or else we're fucked. I mean, if it was a situation where they were like, hey, we're having you out at Tulips, we're doing $15 advance tickets, $20 at the door. We're also doing $10 online tickets. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And everyone gets a cut of whatever they need. I mean, I wouldn't be too upset about that, and every venue's got some sort of like camera station.
Sure.
Where you, as a home viewer of entertainment, where maybe you're one of these people that you like dead vinyl, you buy all the records, you listen to music all the time, but you don't like going to the shows because the shows smell bad and they always get too drunk. So you go out, you put your little goggles on, you go to the dead vinyl show on your couch. That's kind of cool.
I like the idea.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
How it would affect a musician on stage, I don't know, because what if there's no one there, but there's 50 people online watching you?
What if there's 20,000 people online, but nobody came to your show?
That's the thing, because they go, okay, so now I'm going to perform to a camera.
But it would be incredible. You still had 20.
That's like, well, you still made 20,000 tickets sold,
but
bro.
there's no audience feedback at all.
Oh yeah, and they can't say shit. Maybe we'll do like a text board where they can write.
That would be kind of worse.
Your shoes suck.
Can you imagine the shit that would be written across a text board that only you can see at the venue?
Oh my god! And it would just
horrific.
There would be people trolling it all the time. Well, you know how the internet works now.
Yeah.
It would just be people trolling it all the time.
Oh my god. Yeah, what if you ended up just going to like sound stages, like you're performing on TV, but there's no audience,
I mean, it would be crazy. It would be absolutely crazy.
But then all of a sudden, like in one night, you made enough to fund all your vinyl and your next record.
Exactly, because you sold X amount of tickets on the internet and people watched you from their couch and had a great time. They didn't have to leave, which is what they want now, I think.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah.
I looked at those. I can't afford it. The cameras are very expensive.
Oh, I know. They're stupid expensive. But hey.
I was just trying to think like where it's going, because the live show for people on the level we're talking about, it's suffering.
Yeah.
It's suffering. People, I think a lot of it too now is just with inflation and everything. It's like people are finding it harder to spend money to go out.
It's a rough time
so
out
it's
there.
moving down. And if,
It's a rough time
I
out
think
there.
there's got to be a new way. And then ultimately, I think like you'll only watch so many of those before you go, I got to see one in person.
Right.
Got to be there in person.
They just did an article about this in the Weekly where they
Oh.
talked about the low attendance of shows, of musicians and shows and stuff like that. And I thought it was interesting because, I mean, it just kind of goes to what we were talking about before, where it's, are these people, is there a new batch of kids out there playing music? Are there people that even want to go see music anymore? It's hard to know.
What did they sum it up as? What did they think?
They interviewed Sean Russell from Cutthroat Finches, I guess. I know. He's a buddy of mine. But yeah, I mean, he was just saying that it's hard to get people to come out because of exactly what you're talking about with money being very tight right now. And going to shows, even if you don't drink a drop of alcohol, still costs some money. You got to spend gas to get there, and you got to pay a cover charge a lot of times. And maybe it's not a lot, but maybe it's $10-$20 they would rather spend on fucking DoorDash. I don't know, man.
Yeah. What do you think about festivals right now? Because my wife and I, we've been really kicking around the idea of like maybe we should just start doing an annual like I'm a fan of festival where we book bands that we know are incredible and try to do our part to create some excitement around it.
I think that is a wonderful idea. And
but as a band though, if you hear about a festival, do you think like, it sounds like a grind? Do you think like if we do something like that, I really need to make a certain amount of money, or like what makes it sound interesting to a performer where it feels like when you leave, like let's just assume, I'm not saying I can do it, but let's just assume it's sold out and the exposure is there.
Right.
But I don't want you to be like, it's great exposure. It's like I want you to walk away feeling like this was worth it.
This was worth it.
What makes those things worth it to you?
I like it when we get invited to festivals that aren't just music festivals, but they're also festivals for people who can sell art and for food vendors to come and hang out. And I don't know how many chefs you interview on the show, but
so far none, but it might be a new priority now.
It might be cool to have a chef on and talk to a chef about something like that. So that can be kind of a part of that festival where you have this chef's over here in his food truck. This person's over here selling, paintings. This person's over here playing the music. That's what I kind of like when I go to festivals, is that there is kind of all of the art is together and it's all melding and stuff like that.
Because I was thinking, obviously we don't have the funds to do like a 4-stage mega festival thing. And I think that's very hard to fill up. Like, I think it's a big ask of your community to be like, can 15,000 of you show up?
Yeah, y'all all get out here.
But what I do think is you could do a really small 2-stage, small parking lot thing where you're just alternating stages, keeping it nice and lively.
Absolutely, you could.
And then just get sponsors to help get it all there and go with it.
That would be the things, getting sponsors there and stuff like that.
What about financially though? Do you feel like if you're going to be providing that level of entertainment that there should be some money involved in it for the bands?
When it comes to Dead Vinyl, we've never been paid handsomely for festival shows. We usually do it because we like the festival that we're going to. And we just also understand that a lot of times festivals, unlike a regular band bill where there's 3 bands or there's 4 bands that night, there's fucking 10 bands or something playing over the course of 2 days, and you got to pay every single one of these bands or something. So it's a lot of money just to spend on paying bands. Even if you gave each band $100, that's still fucking $1,000 you spent on just getting 10 bands to play.
But let's say you could get paid. What would you feel like is like, this is a good amount? I am not like, oh, this is nice, but like, I am very happy with this.
For a 45-minute set?
Sure.
$250.
That feels low.
It feels low?
I think so.
I think $250 is pretty good for 45 minutes.
Okay, fair enough.
For what we do in Dead Vinyl. I mean, for other bands it might be different.
What about for Hayden Miller if you had a full band on stage?
That'd be more, because I'd have more members, and it would be
because you're dealing with more hired gun musicians now.
Hired gun musicians
who need to get
instead
paid.
of my buddies.
So
like
now, what kind of dollar amount we talking?
I'd have to have $100 a head. Should probably be that's 500, 600 right there. At least that.
Okay. It's giving me stuff to think about. I think you guys you guys are lowballing yourselves.
I think that we lowball ourselves for 10 years in Dead Vinyl.
similar to the comics I have on this show.
Yeah.
Musicians, I think, have a hard time tallying up their worth. One, because people don't let them know that they're worth it. But two, I think just fans, like everything you just said about your album, people don't realize like that's what it took, right? But you said what was very interesting. You said $250 for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't 45 minutes.
No. It's not 45 minutes, no.
How much time was it?
See, that's what I was going to say.
How much time was it to rehearse and perfect?
The distinction there
to
would
drive
be
there.
to Dead Vinyl practices twice a week, whether we need it or not, shows or not. We just get together twice a week and we play. So the practicing I don't factor in because we are going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
We are buddies. We have been for years, and we're always hanging out on Tuesdays and Fridays.
But see, that's
music.
a commitment to the craft, right? If you had a shoemaker who was working like that, the shoes would cost more.
Yeah.
The fact that you're
right.
putting in the 10,000 hours means it garners more money because the end product is going to be more premium.
I get you, and I wish that the time spent equated to that. It would make my life so much easier.
I'm only saying it because I'm hoping people out there who love this stuff will help spread that message of like, if you want to keep it, it's going to cost money because it's not even about like, Hayden's over here getting rich off this. It's like, no, man.
Hayden's barely making a living.
Yeah, it's like, look, dude, he could go to school and get that highfalutin Bucky's job.
But I could be washing cars tomorrow, dude.
But it's like, no, we're doing this for entertainment. You know?
Yeah. Doing it because we love it, just because we love it.
I think if you did a 45-minute set at a successful festival and you had your hired gun musicians, that you should be talking in the 5-figure range.
5-figure range?
I'm sorry, excuse me, 4-figure range.
4-figure range?
4-figure range. I don't think there's any reason if you were headlining this festival, let's just say we give you an hour set, you're headlining, you're going to shut it down. We got everybody drunk. These vendors have made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Everybody's having a great time. It was a huge success. Is $2,000 really like... Is that crazy?
No, that's not crazy. That'd be amazing.
That's the reaction I'm talking about.
That'd be amazing.
To where you go, if you get invited to play that show, you play it. And not only do you play it, but like take it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Make it your best show. Like that would be the way I would want you to tell a future band of like, you got booked on that? Yeah. Are you prepared?
Are you ready? Because you need to take it really seriously, and you need to be ready to just knock them.
Because you want to be asked back to this,
right? Yeah, you want to make this look good.
Because that's the way I would want to approach sponsorship about it. Of like, guys, do you want people to remember this event and remember that I don't know, Stan's Tacos was plastered everywhere.
And everyone loved your tacos.
Everyone loved Stan's Tacos.
Everyone loved them, Stan. Don't you beat yourself up about it.
But I mean, if you had, let's say, 15 bands, I think you could get. I think through sponsorships. Of course, I'm saying it as somebody who hasn't done this yet.
Sure. Yeah.
I think you could find $15,000.
I bet you could.
Right?
I through the right sponsorships.
I think if you just said, I've
done shows before with plenty of sponsorships in local scenarios, never gotten paid near that much.
Really?
But I think the funds went in other directions to enhance the experience of the festival. Which, again, like I said, if you're going to have food trucks there, if you're going to have people out there doing art vending and stuff like that, those are all things that, they cost money to do that stuff too. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm glad you gave me some feedback on that.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
What were some of like the favorite festivals you ever either went to or played on? What are like some of the best memories? Like me, I grew up in like the era of Warped Tour.
Warped Tour? Oh God, I went to a couple of those.
In the early Warped Tours.
Incredible. Edge Fest.
Edge Fest was always
ones. Oh my God.
Is the Edge still around anymore? Is that a thing?
No, I don't think so. No way,
okay.
Right?
I don't know. I feel bad not knowing if they are, but Edge Fest was incredible.
Edge Fest was amazing.
That was maybe the best local homegrown festival that ever existed.
It really was, and it was like it was the first time I ever in my life crowd surfed, which is just a kind of a holy experience for any musician. It's like that first time you get flung up and just an ocean of people just shoving you to the front of the stage. That is religious.
Yeah,
it is amazing. Oh, the Edge Fests of my yesteryears. So good. So good.
The first Edge Fest I ever went to, Newfound Glory was headlining. And I was not a huge Newfound Glory fan, right? And that was one of those pivotal moments. I'm a high school kid. We're going to watch the show. We're going with friends. We're having a great time. And like this was before I could drink at concerts too. Big difference, right?
Big thing, yeah.
Big difference. And that, like, the truth of the live show, right? It's like, I was not a Newfound Glory fan. And then after we saw that show, I was like, They were pretty good.
Those guys whooped ass
They
just
were
now.
pretty fucking
They
good.
fucking kicked ass just
And
now.
we saw some other bands that we really liked, and they were not very good. Like,
Yeah, and because you get that when for the first time when you're in high school and you're seeing these big bands that you're hearing on the radio every day because you're a
Right.
high school kid, and some of them sound exactly like the record, and some of them don't quite hit the mark in the same way,
Yeah.
and you're like, that band kicks ass though because
Yeah.
they did it just like their song on the radio sounds,
hmm
and it's fucking good.
Yeah, they and then like I didn't realize they had, like B-sides.
Oh yeah,
And you're like, and I listened to punk rock and I was like, oh, are they doing double time right now?
what the
What? The girls down there don't know what to do with this mosh pit situation.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just arms and legs going.
Yeah, because it's like it was love song, and then massive punk rock mosh pit, and then love song. It's like, what is happening? No, it's Edgefest, man. I totally forgot about that. Yeah,
Oh,
like what
Edgefest
does it
was
take to
good.
get something like Edgefest back? That was huge and hugely successful.
Is Pizza Hut Park, Steve, still there even?
It's got to be there, but they change names probably every 6 months, right?
Yeah, it's whatever fast food chain is next door now.
Yeah.
Subway Park.
Have you heard about artists going to OnlyFans? And not for those reasons, but like they're
No
trying to become
way.
they're trying to become a significant platform for
I would
musicians,
think if
comics.
you were a significant platform for isn't that basically just Patreon?
They are claiming they'll do it better.
Claiming they'll do it better on OnlyFans. Well,
OnlyFans.
because you can get it with a side of porno.
I guess, yeah.
You know?
They're saying it's differentiated. It's separate.
It's a different side.
That's what they're claiming.
Isn't the symbol for OnlyFans like a little heart with a in the O?
Oh.
Isn't there like a little heart in the O?
I don't know. Let me check it out.
To explicitly say, as if to say, OnlyFans, we're here for things that
We are
involve
here.
hearts and love. And
Yes, you were correct.
knew it.
You
I
were
knew
correct,
it.
yeah.
I knew I'd seen that logo enough times.
Yeah. Oh no. I thought it was. It's some kind of. I don't know what that is.
No,
Some-
I don't know. They changed it.
they switched it up.
changed it. Their marketing guy was like, "What if we want people that don't want to show their titties on here?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, I guess."
Let me
we
just
have
look at old logos here and see what we get.
I thought for sure it was like a little heart in the O, or maybe
I
I'm
don't know
thinking of
what it
something
is.
else.
Maybe you just wanted it. Maybe you were like, it's about love.
It's about love, guys. It's about supporting content creators and love.
Have you thought about just doing an OnlyFans though, just for the like people would just be like, "What the fuck is this?" But it has no nude content, no nothing. It's just
Now you
like
just get exclusive songs and shit.
sure, yeah. Like when if we make a music video and it's great and it's just like you can check it out on my OnlyFans.
People are like, "Oh yeah, I gotta buy in for $8, and then I gotta buy the video for another $8. What the fuck?"
Do you do a Patreon right now?
No.
Have you ever asked anyone to subscribe to anything?
I've never asked for money in a crowdsourced thing like that
Yeah.
because, and it's not because I'm above it or anything. I would love to. I just feel specifically that it's a trigger you can only pull one time. So you got to have a really good thing to do it for. You know, you got to
Yeah.
have, it's like, because you can't keep, like I said before, nobody likes these people that are on the internet that are constantly crowdsourcing something that they're doing in their life. And I mean, it's definitely a viable way to do it. I just feel like you can only pull that trigger once and get the most money out of it to help
Yeah.
you complete a project.
I just did a GoFundMe for this.
Oh, yeah?
And because I've been doing this for 4 years, and I'd never really asked for money. And I was just thinking, you know what? I recorded, like I made this record. I'm in the works right now. I recorded a comedy special for one of the stand-ups, and we're going to release that through I'm a Fan Of.
Right.
And I was like, we're doing more now. And I say we, it's like me and my wife.
Yeah, no,
and it's
that's how it starts.
Yeah, and I was like, let's just see if there's any support out there for it. And I was thinking of it more as like an annual, kind of like how PBS does. Like let's just do
absolutely.
once a year. We try to raise a little money,
Little pledge drive.
see whatever's going on, right?
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I was very pleasantly surprised. Like there were people very willing to support.
Cool,
And
man. That's great.
And I don't know, like I will probably do it again next year.
Okay.
And just only do it once a year and not make it a huge thing.
No.
Not begging, just like
Absolutely. And I don't mean any disrespect with
no.
that.
I
mean,
I like hearing the psychology behind it and how other people view it. Because some people
Sure.
get a little disgusted by that and they're like, oh,
but I mean,
asking
the
for
way you're
money.
putting it seems so much more like sustainable, I guess, because you're doing it like you said, like kind of like a KERA would.
Yeah.
Where it's an annual thing, just to kind of almost to try to gather funds, but also to kind of just touch base with your people who are supporting it and the people who can financially help you out, and just being like.
And I was
still
phrasing
here,
it in
we're
a way
still
of
going.
like, here's what we're looking to do in 2024.
There you go.
And this is how you can kind of help,
And this is where your dollars go to.
Yeah. And so it's, maybe that's a move for you in the future of like, we want to do vinyl.
I want to do vinyl. I want to do vinyl so bad. I just
Have you thought about just printing it all? Not printing it, but
putting it all on a credit card and just owing forever?
No. Yes, do that. Money's a construct. It's all going to collapse anyway.
It's all going to collapse in like a couple years, dude. Just max out the card.
Could you imagine the person who maxed out like $100,000 and then they're like, "No, we solved inflation and you owe us money big time."
Just throws it on the ground. Fuck.
No. Why not put together all of your artwork and showcase it digitally to be like, here's what I've made. Do you think you can help me get there? Because people might just get psyched about seeing it.
I think maybe that's I hope that's something that people would get psyched about.
Yeah.
I don't know if I give myself enough credit. I feel like I don't hype myself up, and now
Yeah.
that's what I'm feeling like. But
Yeah. But if you showed them like, here's the stuff I would love to print.
Right.
Here's how much it would cost. And, what do you guys think? And you might, without ever asking for a dime, you might just see if people are like, they might be hot or cold on it, and you'll just get a sense of it right then.
Yeah, and then that would be enough to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to pull the OnlyFans trigger yet, but maybe down the line, something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I am getting closer and closer to that point for sure, because, like I said, I've considered it many times in the past doing crowdfunding things, but
it's tough, right?
This would be a good reason to do it, though, to get some vinyl out.
Well, and you have a real. I think what resonates with your record for me so much is you do feel there's a real purpose. It's not, I'm putting out content, and I would like to keep putting out content.
Right.
Will you please help me put out content? It's, no, I had this moment in life. It means this much to me, and I wanted to document it in this way for myself and for others. And it's important, right? And that translates through the songs. And so I
hope it does. Yeah.
Oh, it really does, man. I think you need to get it in front of as many ears as you can, and it's just a numbers game at this point.
That's good advice. I'm going to take you up on that.
I think the more people that hear it, you're going to go like, wow, people are really resonating with this.
I hope so, because it's I want it to be not just a record, but a mental health tool that you can use to help you get through some stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pulling that trigger for what were we talking about? Not OnlyFans. God, I keep wanting to say OnlyFans now. It's a GoFundMe. The GoFundMe. That's what you used, right?
Yeah.
And you saw really good results with it. And
I was happy with GoFundMe. What I liked about it too is if you didn't reach your goal, you would still have access to the funds that you raised. Some of them, if you don't reach your goal, it's all over.
Oh shit! So they dump the whole thing into what?
They refund everyone.
Oh, okay. I was about to say they just take it and it's like. They're very successful.
They're like, they just go eat sushi.
They just go eat sushi off of naked ladies, and it's perfect. Yeah.
Could you imagine if they're like, you didn't meet your goal? Yeah. Sorry, kid.
How much was you trying to raise? $1,000? Well, you got $900. So
looks like we're having a $900 dinner tonight.
Hit the bricks, kid. Hit the bricks.
Oh my God, that would be. It sounds like that's how it should work, though, right? That's like modern capitalism.
That sounds like how capitalism would jip you pretty good, huh?
Oh my gosh. Well, dude, I've had such a good time talking with you. Let's wrap it up.
Absolutely, man.
Where do you want people to go so they can find the record, listen to it? Where is the place that you're most active that they can find
The place that you can find me the most active is going to be on Instagram. You can find me at haydenmiller.tx, and that is my Instagram. You can also find my band, Dead Vinyl, at deadvinyltx on Instagram. Those are our two big platforms there. Check out all my music on Spotify, on iTunes, wherever you get music. It's everywhere right now. The album's called BARTALK. Also, if you like listening to podcasts, check out a podcast that I do with my boys. It's called The Dead Vinyl Podcast, and it is with my boys in Dead Vinyl. And it's not interview-based. It's really just kind of silly, and we just do voices and stuff like that. It's kind of silly, but... Anyway, we're still a fledgling podcast, but we still have a lot of fun with it.
Again, thank you so much, man. Like, I can't stress enough how great the record sounds.
Thank you so much,
front
man.
to back. And if you go listen to this, I mean, look, listen to whatever song you want to at any time you want to, but you need to make a moment to just put it on and let it play.
Carve out that 33 minutes.
Do the dishes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was riding my bike, commuting to work, and it's like, just put it on, and eventually you'll just notice, man,
Oh shit, I'm 6 songs in.
I'm digging this, But yeah, dude, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, dude. This has been so fun. Thank you for having me, man.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.